Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spawncast episode 358. We're here even though it's technically like 10 o'clock at night because we're jumping ahead an hour tonight, but do have the usual crew with us as well as one new face who will be stopping in more frequently now, that being Mystic Ryan.
Hello.
Ryan, it's good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Before we went live, he told us that he said he was at like a game store. Are those pickups in like a video coming up, Ryan?
No, these are just selfish pickups.
All right, show the people what you got.
I'll show people what I got. I got more than what I just showed you.
Oh, well, just show me what you do.
Top picks.
Yeah.
Kirby's Dream Land complete.
Complete. Ooh. Yeah, the plastic on it, a plastic shell on it.
With that good old white Kirby, right? Where he was very
yeah.
What are you trying to say here?
at a certain point, he was pretty white. Mario Hoops 3-on-3.
Okay. Yeah, this is like one of those good stores you go to where you actually find legit stuff.
Where it's like good stuff. Beautiful Joe.
Beautiful Joe.
Yeah.
Oh. How much was that Beautiful Joe?
I think it was 30.
Yeah, not bad.
And Ghosts and Goblins PSP. There's a more filler, basically.
Hey.
Just got back.
This guy was going crazy at too many games. That's light work right there.
Yeah. That was a day off.
There was some wild stuff going on at too many games. So you're getting out there this year, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think too many games is going to be pretty fun this year. So looking forward to it. Yes, you'll be seeing Ryan more often on the Spawncast. He's going to be the fifth at this point, the fifth person up right now, but he'll be in a bit more frequently. So it's good to have Ryan aboard on the Spawncast.
Says put him in, coach.
Yeah, usually Ryan, of course, generally covers like all the the PlayStation stuff. But I'll tell you, whenever I talk to him, he always is like also going over like the Pokemon stuff, the Nintendo stuff, the Xbox stuff. So he's got knowledge on all of it, and he's ready to go. So I thought it'd be fun. Absolutely. We could have used you not too long ago with the Pokemon Presents because we were lost on everything that was mobile.
Actually, yeah, because 2 out of those games, 2 out of how many they show? 4 games total, 5 games total.
It was like
2 of them
it was all mobile, and then like the last game, which they kind of showed, kind of didn't. But I was like, this is a whole list that Ryan would probably at least be able to explain better.
I play Go and sleep. I give that company my sleep data every night.
There you go. So we could use that. Yeah, we were too many games, and he just is over in the corner playing Pokemon Go like every 15 minutes.
Oh,
so.
I have to.
We got MVG with us, of course.
Hello.
Represent with the Windjammer shirt. I like it. Gotta keep that alive.
Love the Neo Geo.
Hey, we got OJ, of course, holding up the pre-show.
Shout outs. Good to be here.
To have OJ here, and then we got Evan, of course.
Yep.
Evan with us tonight. So what I ended up doing was picking up a lot of like smaller topics because a lot of the stuff that happened throughout the week, there's some smaller events here and there, but there's still actually a fair amount of stuff that happened because the last time we were here, MVG, we talked about the Yuzu Nintendo stuff, and now it is not only over, but like all kinds of stuff happened even after your video you posted where some emulators have like gone away. People are moving out of the emulation space because they're concerned. There's just all this stuff has happened in the span of 6 days. So we'll touch on some of that stuff a bit here. Then we also had the Stellar Blade situation that took place that kind of opened some eyes again, which happens every single time something weird happens with like the digital games. People go, oh, I didn't know they could do that. Well, they did it again. So it's we'll discuss that. And we had the Xbox Showcase, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth sales, and we had Mario Kart get announced for next year, but it's not the one people were hoping for. Of course, we do have the Spawncast Network. You guys can go over and check that out if you want to support the show further. I do want to give a shout out to some of the members over there, as well as the sponsor who stuck with us for quite a while now, that being the Game Orb. They are linked down below in the description. Check them out over on Twitch, YouTube. They make all kinds of gameplay videos for different titles that release, as well as do all kinds of tours for different conventions and shows. So check out the Game Orb, link down below. Shout out to them for continuing to sponsor the show. And then I also want to shout out some of the members over on the Spawncast Patreon. That being Trent A, who's a producer. Then we have William Hogue, who's an executive producer, with Mr. Joby, Joshua Butts, John O, and Achievement, all executive producers there. Shout out to them. And of course, you can join up there over on the spawncastnetwork.com. That is linked down below. I do want to start tonight because I know this is going to come up. I already seen it come up over in the chat here, recognizing, of course, the legend who did pass away Thursday night at the age of 68, that being Akira Toriyama. And he was, of course, the creator of Dragon Ball. However, I've also seen many people who didn't watch Dragon Ball also kind of talk about how it impacted them through like Dragon Quest, which is a really big one I saw online. Chrono Trigger, that was a big one too. Even if you're not familiar with Dragon Quest or Dragon Ball, most people, I think, no Chrono Trigger, and that, of course, being a very iconic look to it, of course, from Akira Toriyama, part of that dream team. Blue Dragon, and actually next month, I believe we have Sandland coming out, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of continuing on there, and I'll be curious to see if that kind of comes up with a lot of people maybe checking that out just because of Akira
I'm
Toriyama,
definitely. It wasn't on my radar before. I'm definitely checking it out now. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm gonna check it out too. I mean, I'd seen it previously, but I'll be checking it out, of course, here just to see what we have with that. We do have there's another Dragon Ball series coming up at the end of this year, and I'm sure the Dragon Ball machine, I'm sure, will continue on. But obviously, we want to give a shout out to the icon, the legend, Akira Toriyama. Any thoughts on his passing? Anyone wanted to mention anything?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
No, it's just a shame. It's a really kind of a shocking thing.
Yeah, like I Dragon Ball Z was huge in my life, and so was Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time, and his art and his style was just awesome. My brother likes to draw just like him, so we, in the household that I grew up in, my mom would call it Dragon Z Ball. Because she would never say the name right. She'd always call it Dragon Z Ball. So my mom even knew what it was, and we would watch it, and kids at school and all of that. So I mean, it's just rough hearing that because he's only 68. It's not like he's 88 or 98. So that was rough. But I love Dragon Ball Z, man. I love Toriyama stuff. Even like the smaller stuff, like Blue Dragon, was awesome. Some of the other things that he had his hand in, but I do want to mention just one more thing real quick. Like, so many people knew about what happened. Like, this was like on like Mexican TV. Like they had a whole segment on there. Stephen A. Smith, there was a whole segment on his show. Yep. Yeah, it was a whole segment there. So this was even going far beyond, people that like in just gaming or people that like anime or manga. It was like even bigger than that. So, condolences to the family and all that. But he was a huge part, of why I decided to start like, playing games and video games and like RPGs in particular. Those are some of my favorites that I talked about. So it just sucks, man. Like Ryan said, it's a shame, and it's very, very difficult, situation for the family and friends and all the stuff that because he'd been working on more things. There's like there's a bunch of stuff that he was working on that's still not even out yet. So
Evan, as the resident artist here, I don't know if there's any, because obviously coming up, that was still around that time when it was airing on TV, like when we were growing up. And I didn't know if you really just looking around at art class or anything, seeing anyone kind of picking up the pen or the pencil because of the Super Saiyan hair and trying to draw it and that kind of thing.
Talk about art class where we live, like it was more than just me in those places, but not like Dragon Ball. When I was in middle school and I started actually drawing, it was between a few Marvel Comics characters, but then the big one was just Dragon Ball Z characters. Like, it's kind of what I would just do, sit around, doodle in class and all that. And it kind of got me into anime eventually, leaning into all the other ones, Big O and everything that I fell into for a while. So it always sucks. The past couple of years, though, a lot of the artists I follow have kind of died very young, and it's been rough.
Yeah, it's based on the release. Like, they put the information up. It happened on the 1st of March, and they were just kind of holding back so that the family could, because they had their own service quietly and that sort of thing. Yeah. But it did sound very sudden.
Yeah, I would hate to go to that funeral after, like, if they told everyone then held the funeral. That would have been an event. Just
also security risk.
Yeah. Security.
Massive issue. Yeah. So it's good they had that.
They apparently were going to do something like in Japan. I'm sure that'll be a big thing where they'll have like, hey, you can go here and leave flowers, and we'll have like a little memorial service there. So that apparently is still being put together. But yeah, absolutely. Rip to Akira Toriyama. We have the messages coming through here. So
I also want to say I finally started playing for real Dragon Ball Z Kakarot on stream, and it's okay. It's good.
Yeah, I played it when it first came. I played it when it first came out. They lost me with all the downloadable content. There's like 30 some odd pieces of DLC in that game.
There's a lot. But yeah, it's cheap. So if you guys know any way to honor Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, it's an RPG.
In his honor, it's all right. I mean,
yeah.
Kind of
you don't have to. That's just one thing. You can watch Dragon Ball Z. You can watch Dragon Ball Z. How about do that?
Yeah.
I fired up like Budokai on the GameCube, the OG one. So that was a classic right there.
I was listening to the music a lot. Like the music is like the music from the animes are so good.
Sure.
You know,
it hits.
Like the opening themes, like the Shala and all that stuff. Like, oh man, that stuff's legit goated, man.
I know MVG is the Dragon Ball stuff's lost on him. I know, but
I mean, he was involved with Chrono Trigger.
Trigger, yeah.
That is a very, very near and dear game to my heart that I love so much. So nothing but love. Rest in peace.
I'll tell you, those character designs, MVG, like scream Dragon Ball. So you look at them, it's you can see it.
I don't know. Do you like Dragon Quest MVG? I don't ever hear you talk about it.
I've tried it a few times, OJ. It's not my bag.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger, I can play that game over and over again. That's probably, if there's one game that I would take with me, it's Chrono Trigger. I could play it on loop forever. Yeah, I'd still love it.
Yeah. It's that good.
Okay. Well, again, definitely rest in peace to Akira Toriyama, passing away at 68. Let's move over to the Xbox Partner Showcase. The thing I noticed online, a lot of people were somewhat confused because they didn't realize there was an Xbox Partner Showcase. I don't know if it was just because it wasn't going to be any first party stuff there, or if maybe the lineup was kind of underwhelming for people, but it didn't seem to catch on, at least on social media or anything like that. But I wrote down everything that was shown there. It was 14 games. It took them about 30 minutes to show everything. And I was going through the list. I could pick out like one or two that that kind of stuck out to me, but just in order: Unknown 9 Awakening, that's summer 2024. Sleight of Hand, which I think that's the one that caught my eye that I hadn't seen before necessarily. I don't know if it's like a mystery action card based game. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but it at least looked very unique. There's Altars All by Myself's, Creatures of Ava, Griefville, Survive the Nightmare X Chucky. It's a Roblox thing. It's out now. Sean seemed really annoyed at that one because I think he thought it was a Chucky game and it was Roblox. So he got kind of faked out by that.
He was huge into the Friday the 13th stuff. So that kind of
It looked like Roblox from the beginning. I was saying Roblox the whole time when I was watching. I was like, this looks like Roblox.
but you got Roblox kids, so like,
well, my daughter, likes Roblox.
Like Sean has no idea what Roblox looks like, so he probably saw that. It was like, oh, dude, Chucky like asymmetric multiplayer game, and then it's like it's Roblox. Deflated, I'm sure, immediately over there. Final Fantasy 14, there's a starter edition Game Pass Ultimate perks. Apparently, you can claim until April 19th. This is still one of those games that I fired up on the Xbox. They asked me to sign up on a web browser, and that was kind of it. So, yeah,
that's where it ends.
I mean, kind of. It is one of those things. It's like, why can't you just have it linked to your Xbox Live account? It just brings you in. Your information's already there.
That's what Redfall did. I tried to play Redfall recently, booted it up. It said, sign into this Bethesda account. I was like, no, I'm good. Off.
That's kind of how it was for me. I was like, I think I'm good. So it feels like they could do something to make that a bit more tolerable.
Like auto link it or something like that, right? Like where you don't have to go through hoops and hurdles to play,
We had Stalker Legends of the Zone Trilogy. This is probably one of the highlights of the show. It's Stalker 2 coming up at some point. But this has the apparently 3 games. One of them I thought was like kind of an expansion of another. Evan, you're into the Stalker series.
Yeah, I got
Trilogy.
into it.
People should check it out, I assume.
Yes, to at least get an understanding of the game. That game has a tumultuous history of just terrible dev work that led to some problems because they got forced to push things out early. It was just this bad time, but the game itself was incredible. Like for a lot of people who probably now like games like Tarkov, I feel like a lot of the inspiration for that came from kind of the weird depth that Stalker had with body part injury, hyper gun mechanics, like very high-end stuff in that vein. And then the world was actually pretty interesting. It just kind of falls apart sometimes in the games just because, again, rushed out. I think it was a THQ issue with the first game. They sent a guy because they were taking way too long. This guy had like no real history of game development, and he just went there and said, all right, we're finishing the game. So the whole last maybe hour of the game feels super linear. It's just weird. It's just super weird. But it's a really good game to try.
I feel like that's the game I played. Might be Call of Proprietor or whatever. It's where it's like a survival
Call of Pripyat, yeah.
Thank you. Where it's a survival first person shooter, and you walk outside. I remember walking outside. It's like there's a storm happening. And
the blowout.
Yeah, so it's an interesting game. It's definitely very different, but I guess with 2 coming up, while these are older titles, it's probably not be a bad idea. It's like $40 for the trilogy, so
yeah,
doesn't seem too bad.
It'll be weird to try. I hope they nail everything in this new one, but like I'm not going into it like hyper hyped. I want to see that they did it, like because every time it's always like, oh, it's all this stuff, and you're like, oh, cool, and then the AI sucks and runs off into a swamp and dies before you go somewhere, and you're like, I don't know, and it just kind of peters out. It's just odd.
We had a Monster Jam Showdown. That felt very out of place, but I guess variety 2024.
There you go.
Persona 3 Reload episode Aegis. That's the expansion pass. It's available to Game Pass Ultimate. So if you just have Game Pass, you're getting the expansion pass, and that's September 2024. But then they have 2 other pieces prior to that are coming out. So that was an interesting surprise to see some new Persona 3 Reload content getting announced not too long after the game came out. But
is it though?
I guess not.
Yeah,
It's shipping the game with all this content that we know should be there.
Listen, it's so funny because newer Atlas people that are newer on the scene, like, man, I can't believe what's the business practices they're doing lately. I'm like, the meme reminds me like the whole meme with the Franco or whatever his name is, and he's like, first time here. It's like, y'all know Atlas been doing this since like the PS2 days, right? Like you go back Persona 3, FES, Persona 3 Portable. This is the 4th version of that, 5th version if you count the HD. This is the 5th version of the same game over the course of almost 15 to almost 20 years. Okay, Persona 4, Persona 4 Golden. I mean, they've done this Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal. Oh, by the way, Persona 5 Royal is a separate version. So like even if you have Persona 5 Royal on PS4 and Persona 5 Royal on PS5, they're 2 different games. They're 2 different games. The save file doesn't transfer over. So it's just like Atlas been doing this for a very long time. So it's just interesting to see people say, what's going on here? I'm like, Atlas.
I remember that whole thing with the save file not transferring over. Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. It's, no save file transfer, no cross play, no cross anything. Everything's just segmented, set. We re-release the same thing, more content, but here's the thing, people think they get away with it because the content's so good. All right.
I'll say it's a little egregious this time around. Because initially it was like, we know damn well there's a lot of content that you're going to ship in this game repackaged down the road. I did not expect it was going to be a solid 3 weeks until they just sell it separately on the storefronts. Or in this case,
so is there going to be
but
another edition that releases then, Ryan, with this stuff packed in?
Well, it's like OJ was saying, like, this is just what Atlas does. I mean, that's why I was not in day one on this game. I love Persona, but like, how I can't. There's the FES content. There's the portable content. Like, we just know they're going to do a sort of Persona 3 Reload, maybe another subtitle repackage on a disc, and you can get it for the same MSRP, maybe lower. But to do what they did now, where they ship it, they say this is a complete game, and then 3 weeks down the road, here's all the stuff that clearly wasn't in it. It's just This was a little egregious even then, knowing how Atlas normally operates.
Fair.
We had Tales of Kinzera Zhao. We've seen this game a lot, actually, and it's out in 6 weeks, the April 23rd. It does. I do get like the Prince of Persia kind of vibes from it with the gameplay, where it's sort of that 2D Metroidvania. So I will check it out. I will check it out. Frostpunk 2, July 25th, 2024. I was not into the Frostpunk series at all, but shout out to people who are. And then Path of the Goddess. This is that Capcom game that they say mixes action and real-time strategy. That's 2024. This is a game that Microsoft's been pushing quite a bit. Like it's been at like all their events just about. They debuted it with Capcom. I think they showed it one time before, and now they're doing it here again. So they are like all in on this game, and I do get Monster Hunter Rise vibes from it, looking like just the aesthetics and the visuals and like the gameplay they've shown. So I don't know. I'm not really sure about this game, but it's apparently coming out this year. So
I bet it's solid if they're showing it like this. I mean, it's got to be at least a solid game. I mean,
I would hope so, or Microsoft just funded it and they're like, we got to keep showing this thing.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of kind of like when what was it? Sony kept showing Helldivers, and people were like, is it going to be good or not? But they keep showing maybe it's really good. That's the reason why. Or Deathloop, right? When they kept on showing Deathloop, and people were like, Deathloop ended up being like Game of the Year candidate.
That's pretty good,
yeah. So I think maybe that's the reason why they're like, hey, this game's actually really good. You know, why they keep showing it like this.
I mean, that was the show.
But you missed one game. You missed the game.
Did I? What did I miss?
The Berserk game or whatever.
I mentioned the first Berserker Kazan.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the game that I was that game looked to me the most interesting. I was like, okay, that looks pretty cool. I might want to check that one out. Sorry, I missed it. Then I missed you saying that.
No, I think I went by it pretty quick because it was right before Tales of Kinzera. Yeah, the first Berserker Kazan. That looked probably the most interesting out of any of the newer titles that we saw here. No, I didn't see any release date or anything. Nothing on it. So okay, so we're still waiting for something there, even a year at this point. But looking at the list of games, it was. I feel like this is the epitome of just fine for a showcase. I don't know if this is a very memorable showing in general, but it's their partner showcase. It was third parties and they were upfront about it. So
none of the Xbox guys were like hyping it up beforehand. So I didn't really have any type of expectations like for it because nobody was like, oh, this is going to be incredible or anything. You know, it was just like, hey, they're just doing this. It's games. Just go hang out, look at some games. You know, that's all I saw it for.
Yeah. I mean, that's all it was. I mean, it was pretty quick too. It was just trailer. They didn't even have a host, nothing. They pasted all the trailers together end to end and just ran it for like 28, 29 minutes. And that was it. They were
fine.
Out. So there's one long commercial, but hey, you got to take a look at some new Persona content that Ryan will buy the complete edition next year for, and we got monster trucks. And then
hold up, they did have Nate the Hate narrating in between. Like they did have Nate there saying, "Look at this game over here on this."
It was all right. I don't know. It's like I said, it's nothing that I feel like people are gonna remember too much like next week, but still we got some games in there.
I legit forgot almost all the games.
I know. I wrote them down and I ran through them. So I figured I had to.
Ryan's thinking the same thing. Like, dude, I don't remember shit.
You know what though? When it opened with Unknown 9, I was surprised by that because that game's been kind of MIA for a long time. Like it had a re-reveal like the Game Awards, I think 2 years ago. But
I forgot about that game completely.
Yeah, it was all CG, all cinematic, and so I don't know. It's like. Is this vaporware? Is it coming out? But it was nice to see that pop up again. So apparently it's on the way.
So that was the Xbox Partner Showcase. There we go. I do want to mention the announcements that we had today actually for Mario Day. This is from Lego. So I feel like Nintendo will probably still have some announcements tomorrow, just kind of thrown out there, at least apparently. But these were all on Lego's part. They did like an 8-minute video just showcasing some new set. I think they showcased like 3 new Lego sets. But the thing that really got the internet at least talking was their last thing that they didn't really show too much of, but enough to tease that they are doing a Mario Kart Lego set, a Lego project of some kind in 2025. So we are now teasing Lego releases like a year out for for this, but Mario Kart is getting a Lego set, a mobile game, and then a re-release technically onto the Switch before the next big Mario Kart game comes out.
Wait, what mobile game?
The Mario Kart Tour.
Oh, I thought you meant like a new mobile game. My bad. Okay, that mobile.
No, I'm saying like since we had Mario Kart 8 come out on the Wii U in 2014, we're gonna have all these other things hit before the next. And technically, next month, April? When did Mario Kart originally come out on the Wii U? No, it's at the end of this month. May. 2 months, right? It'll have been 10 years since that came out.
Crazy.
Which is crazy to think about. Like, it has been that long since a brand new numbered Mario Kart came out. I don't really count the mobile game like next to the Mario Kart 8 or 9 or 10 or anything there. It's man, it's tough. I mean, it's on one hand, it's tough being a Mario Kart fan right now, but on the other hand, you just got all that DLC and like all these tracks, and people are looking at 8 as like the ultimate one. I don't know. I guess it is just, how do you top Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at this point?
Oh my
without
God.
feeling like you went backwards.
Don't get me started. How they can top it. As someone who's put like hundreds of hours into the game, there's a lot of things they can do, because that game has a lot of stuff that's not in previous Mario Kart games. Heck, there's stuff from Tour that's dope. That would be good if they actually, adapted for the console release. But Mario Kart 8 does have a ton of like tracks and characters and stuff. So that's the good thing about the game. And the controls are great. The graphics are obviously great, but music's good. But yeah, man, in terms of like content, ooh, man, there's a lot of stuff they can do. Oof. I'm thinking real single player content. When it comes like to the online modes, better tournaments and better modes set up for that. Definitely better battle modes in terms of things like that. Mission mode can come back. Oh my goodness. Like the RPG stuff that Tor has, different type of outfits and things that Tor has. Like, oh my God, I can make a whole video on that.
I like the idea of them doing like a full, like a Diddy Kong Racing single player for it.
Yeah.
That's the thing I like the idea of.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. Like Crash Team Racing has like that type of single player, but like more, bigger, like, because like the single player in, Mario Kart is like it's like non-existent. Like, it's just like all you do is just like you just collect coins and like you just do the Grand Prix or whatever, right? And it's like, oh, here's a mirror, and now you just unlock. It's like, man, if it would be cool if there's something else like mission mode, like the DS had or something like that, right? Just something else to supplement, because you're just driving in a car at the end of the day. Like, yeah, you're shooting some people and stuff, but it's not really. There needs to be a bit more for that type of thing, So, yeah, they've got 10 years. 10 years, so they've had 10 years to think of stuff. So there's no excuses for the next Mario Kart, man. When it comes out, I need to see progression. I need to see some updates.
You want
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Plus? Is that the move?
If that adds a bunch of new stuff, that's fine. I don't just add
a plus on it.
Couple new maps, couple new people, couple new cars.
First person mode.
Yeah. Fast loading.
First person mode.
First person mode.
Need virtual reality.
Yeah,
Labo comes back with Mario Kart.
Motion sickness mode.
All the maps will have day night.
There
options.
it is. First person view.
No.
That needs to, I hope that's a game that comes out either at launch for the next system, or it is like the first year release.
It's come on. It's got to be a first.
Mario Kart 8 for too long. This is crazy. We're about to get a Lego set. Like, Lego's about to release a Mario Kart game technically, because I'm sure it'll be like gamified in some way before Nintendo. They can't let that happen.
I'm guessing Mario Kart next. Oh, go ahead.
Need the next Mario Kart. Go ahead, Roger.
I'm guessing it's sitting inside some type of hyper boxed off area where they've already got all the. It's just sitting there, it's just waiting. They're gonna reveal it.
Might be. Maybe it's next year. Maybe that's when it comes out. They got the Lego stuff hitting. They do that. I don't know. It's
Mario Kart side movie. Side movie announced. Man. Just Mario Kart.
It might be. That was actually like one of the most popular things for the Mario movie is the Mario Kart.
That Mario Kart part was actually really, really good in the Mario movie.
Let's MVG, I do want to bring you in on this one, the Yuzu Nintendo settlement. There's a lot to this, by the way, looking up and down all the news that came out from it. But we talked about this Saturday night. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Monday they released the information that they were going to extend it up until April, which would give them time to put their case together. And then like 18 hours later, they were like, we settled with Nintendo and we're paying them $2.4 million. We're taking Yuzu down completely. And this kind of snowballed a bit because Citra went away too. Citra's like like the latest build. They pulled the GitHub down, the repository, all that. It's just gone, which is a 3DS emulator that people kind of relied on because like there's no like Nintendo doesn't do 3DS stuff anymore. Like the store is gone. They're about to remove online play next month. And we lose that. Some of the tools went away. The FBI installer thing went away for the 3DS. That got pulled down. And then Drastic, which is a DS emulator, the person behind that made it free. And then they said they're going to take it down soon because they, in their own words, say they don't want to deal with the potential of what could happen if Nintendo decides they don't want that $5 DS emulator up on the Android store anymore. This escalated very quickly. I know you did a video because you were waiting for it to happen, and I know you didn't think it was going to happen then. You were like, I'll wait a bit, see what their response is, and it was like overnight, Yuzu's gone, just like that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was waiting to see what would happen. I mean, I didn't think that it was going to end to its conclusion on Monday, which was only a few days later. But in hindsight, if you kind of go back and look at everything, it was the right thing to do, I think. I think what probably happened, John, is that Yuzu had every intention of going to court and fighting this. But I think once they got a lawyer that was familiar with what was going on, the lawyer probably advised them that this is probably not a good idea for you. You're going to get completely bodied in court. The best thing you could probably do is settle and take the L on this. And I think that's what they did, right? So it looks like, Nintendo had a lot of supporting evidence in the discovery process where they found all sorts of information about what was going on in their Discord channels. There was kind of evidence to suggest that the Yuzu kind of leaders were sending links to ROMs to, their like tier 3 Patreons and above and stuff like that. I don't know the exact specifics, so if I'm butchering it, I apologize. But you get what I'm saying. Like there was a lot of supporting evidence that Nintendo found that Yuzu was doing more than just, building an emulator on their Discord channel. They had this, for better or for worse, or whether they were intentionally doing it, it doesn't matter. But they had basically, handing out links to download things, as well as information on how to dump your product keys and all that stuff. We talked about this all last week, so I don't want to rehash it, but Yuzu probably did the right thing. They were advised to settle out of court. And look, it's a good result, right? Like there's been so many weird takes that I've seen about people saying emulation is dead and all this nonsense. The reality is this: emulation is still very much alive. It's still very much legal. Yuzu kept their lawsuit out of the court, so the DMCA law, it was not tested in any way. So basically, Yuzu kind of took the bullet so emulation can continue to be legal. So they did the right thing. I know a lot of people are very, very confused about why they did settle and just take the L on it. That's ultimately the reason why. Now, as far as these other emulators that are disappearing, I think people are freaked out. It's one of those things where they don't want to be in Nintendo's crosshairs, right? For whatever reason. So I've seen this happen before. It happened with Dolphin remember how Dolphin got taken off of Steam, or it was supposed to go on Steam. There was a little period of a couple of weeks where some emulators, kind of said that they weren't working on emulators anymore and they stopped. This is the same thing. People are a little freaked out because they're not really sure where they stand and if they're going to be next on Nintendo's hit list. I don't personally think that you would be, but also don't really know what Nintendo, is thinking half the time anyway. So don't take my word as anything. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It was it was done very quickly, but I think ultimately it was the right choice.
I like how the settlement is, we're going to take $2.4 million from you, and then you're going to hand us the URL, and then you're going to take everything down. Like that was the settlement, was basically just, we're going to hit you over the head over and over and over again until you're gone. Yep. That is wild stuff. That was what would have been like, if that's the good outcome, what was the bad outcome for them? Just like, we're going to drop $30 million fine on you, and
probably jail sentences, going to prison. I think that would be pretty bad, especially over something like this. But it happened with Gary Bowser. We knew that Nintendo sent him to jail, so they don't give a fuck. They'll send anyone to prison if they feel like they'll make an example out of someone.
Is this something you? So I'm trying to figure out, looking at this, right? There's Ryu Jinx, and then there was Yuzu, and now, by the way, Suyu is popping up, and apparently they can launch into a game from the home screen now, which I guess that's a good name, Suyu. But now they've made progress, and based on this case that we just saw happen with Yuzu, I feel like if you're making emulator, you have to assume that if you have a Discord, that Nintendo is in there or aware of your Discord, that they're aware of a lot. People seem to think Nintendo is just using the fax machine all the time, and they might be, but like they hire people that know how to do that stuff. They hire their private investigators. They get everything, and they got some pretty good lawyers. So I do wonder about Ryu Jinx. There's no indication they're in any imminent danger now, but 3 weeks ago, I don't think any of us thought that Yuzu was in imminent danger, and it's gone now.
So I do have some info about Ryu Jinx, and this is why I feel like they may be okay. I mean, I say maybe because, again, Nintendo, they move differently, right? But I have been told that one of the reasons why Yuzu was an easy target, there's many reasons why Yuzu was targeted, right? We know some of them, obviously the piracy that was going on, the Discord server, the Patreon that was bringing a lot of money. So they had a lot of eyes on Yuzu, right? So I think it was a good target for Nintendo. Now, the reason why I don't think Ryu Jinx is in the same boat, even though technically it does exactly the same thing as what Yuzu does, is they do have a Patreon, but it's not something that they advertise. But more importantly, more than anything bigger than ever, is that they're actually based in Brazil. And I don't think it's easy for Nintendo, because first of all, there's no Nintendo Brazil as far as I know. I think maybe there used to be, but I don't think there is one now, right? So I guess what I'm saying is it's not really that easy to serve them, a summons or, serve them papers. And even if they did, like, there's really no easy way to extradite someone from Brazil over to the United States, right? So I think international law comes into it and makes things a lot more difficult for Nintendo to pursue. So I think Ryu Jinx is okay. Even if Nintendo wasn't happy with them and wanted to go after them, the fact that they are based in Brazil it's pretty good for them. So I think if anything to take away from this is, if you're going to build an emulator for a modern console, don't do it in the United States. Live somewhere else. Live in South America or somewhere where they can't touch you. So
South America's the move because it's cheaper, right, to live there. So you can go further off of your money. So yeah, South America definitely the move.
I wonder if I do wonder if Nintendo has kind of shown that you could, if for example, Sony realized the PS5 emulator had a ridiculous breakthrough, and 3 months from now, full retail versions of PS5 games were just running on PC with minimal issues, like just hypothetically happened, and they were based out of the US. I almost wonder if Sony would be like, oh, maybe we could get rid of that emulator if we play our cards right and look into certain things, and how are they decrypting our games? And I wonder if this is something that has kind of been set up for other companies to kind of follow if they feel like they need to.
Well, Sony has a history doing this.
Yeah, they do.
With the PlayStation 1 and Apple.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. So that's true.
If it's a modern device, I mean, my question is, and MVG, maybe you can add some insight into this, but what was this simply a matter of Nintendo waiting to build a case?
I think so.
It's like why now?
Yeah,
right?
I think so, because I mean, if you look at the court documents, they heavily talk about Tears of the Kingdom, how it was allegedly downloaded 1 million times, and then they correlated that to the number of Patreon members Yuzu was getting that suddenly had spiked. So you could tell that they were. This was not something that they, 2 weeks ago, some executive got pissed off and said, let's go after Yuzu, let's take him down. This was something that I think that formulated and has been in the works for a long time, at least 12 months. And John was talking about earlier how there were kind of ninjas infiltrating discords and basically just hanging out in discords and things like that, and just collecting evidence and collecting information. So I think this was definitely a long-term thing. It was probably the last 12 months or so.
Yeah, I do wonder if like Tears of the Kingdom didn't get downloaded over 1 million times, if this would have even happened. Like if it was a very small thing that happened there with that leak and like 10,000 people downloaded, I almost wonder if Nintendo would have just been like, well, whatever. But 1 million, that seemed to set them off. So
isn't the crux of the issue still monetizing too, though?
That was something they seemed to leverage in the court documents. Like they kept pointing out how much money they were making on Patreon. I don't know, because like, for example, MVG just mentioned like Ryujinx has a Patreon.
Yep.
And to my understanding, if you're a company that feels like DMCA can be applied to something like that, you can stop their Patreon, because Patreon's like is separate from them. And it's like a company that generally just folds if they get a letter like that, instead of just trying to keep it up for them. So technically Nintendo could cut off funding if they wanted to. I just feel like they saw their opportunity to basically put the kill shot in and get rid of this emulator.
I was actually surprised to find that Yuzu, the LLC, was based in the United States, in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why Yuzu was a target, was, in Nintendo's crosshairs, because American company, let's go. We don't need to mess around with international law and international lawyers. We can just go.
Ryujinx, I did look up the Patreon for Ryujinx. It's pretty small amount too in comparison. So I don't know if they're looking at maybe amount. What was it? Yuzu was like $30,000 a month. Ryujinx is $2,000 a month.
Yeah. At one point, it climbed to 50,000.
Yeah, and it seems like they don't lock off features. That was one thing too that Patreon, that Yuzu was doing, like certain features and things that you were getting if you are, whereas this doesn't seem to be that. Not saying that was effective in what Nintendo was, ultimately looking at, but that's just also something. It seems like this is a far more lower profile in terms of the money that they're making, or lack thereof, that they're making on this, a month.
And Citra, John, real quick, Citra. The reason why Citra went away is because it's the same developers. So Yuzu is Citra, Citra is Yuzu. So it was collateral damage at the end of the day. And honestly, I think, look, people talk about preservation with Yuzu. I don't really subscribe to that. Like, it's a current day console, right? So its preservation days will come later on. But something like 3DS, where we're already seeing games delisted, and a lot of 3DS stuff is not playable anymore. There's probably some chance that we'll see 3DS on NSO at some point. But the fact that the 3DS library is no longer playable unless you have original hardware and physical media, it means the death of Citra is a lot more of a concern as far as preservation goes than Yuzu is, and I think that's a real shame.
I will tell you the number of 3DS systems. It's like 75 million or something is what they sold. For preservation, like with that in mind, is a very misleading number, because 3DS systems broke constantly. Like that was not necessarily a fragile system, but it was a system that went on the go a lot, and I would see those just blown up half the time when they'd come into the store to get repaired. That was it was that and the Xbox 360 were my two most repaired systems. 3DS, Xbox 360. They were just always broke. The charge port was always busted. And half the time, the people would come in and they would just say, we were going to throw it out, or that we just happened to drive by and we figured we'd give it a shot. So there's probably a lot that just started landfills, and that 75 million is probably a lot lower now than people realize. And that might be why 3DS systems are becoming more and more expensive. They're not cheap right now.
And the games, man. Like I don't know, some Canadian retail place has new games, and the prices are not cheap. I just bought. What did I buy? A bunch of new 3DS games the other day. I think I spent like almost $50 per game. Persona Q2, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate, and Tales of Abyss. And these are all brand new. I don't know how they. I guess Reaper. I don't know how they got them. But they got them.
That's that store up in Canada, right? Is that?
Yeah, they had the VGP or whatever, but it's not cheap. So yeah, the prices are getting crazy. The game, like for physical. So yeah, like MVG was saying, just to kind of aid that, like yeah, that 3DS emulator, that kind of going offline definitely sucks because there's no way to buy, the games in that type of way.
Yeah, that one hurt a bit.
Because people aren't going to be spending $50 per game, $60 per game, 70.
That's
even
an
more,
emulator
right?
too. You could like take the games and like upscale them, and they look really nice on like
yeah,
big screen. And
exactly. So
that was a shame. But I mean, there's other emulators. Like there's what's the name of it?
The 3DS.
Yeah.
Well,
Mikage
Drastic's the other one, and that's been taken
Yeah,
offline.
Drastic's
as
coming
well.
down. They admitted they were like, we want no part of that.
I make it sound worse than what it is. Obviously, because everything's open source. There are a million clones or a million repos out there. So it's not like you can't find binaries and source code and basically continue on working on this stuff if you choose to do so. We're just talking about the official repositories. Obviously, have been nuked off the face of the earth, and we'll never see them again.
Right. Yes. And who knows? I mean, I've mentioned Ryan Sony. I forgot about this case, and I kind of popped in my mind when we were talking about it. But just a few years ago, they bought a hacked PS4 off of eBay from the guy, got it in, looked it over, saw the hacked games the guy was selling. He had like a couple hundred games on there for the PS4, and they sued him after they bought it from him on eBay. So that's Sony's very active in some of this stuff too. So it's
yeah. I mean, if you're impeding on like modern hardware that's still very much relevant and commercially available, these companies are still going to be pretty litigious for protecting their bottom line.
Like I don't have any concern around the PS3 emulator, but I always forget how to say it. Our PS3. I have no concerns around that. I think that'll be fine and stick around, but it's still something to notice here. I'm sure if
Sony was smart, they would license that tech and put it in their firmware for the PS5 so we can play native PS3 games. John,
need the native PS3.
That's not happening.
I want to be able to put the PS3 disc in the PS5 and it plays it.
I'm not even entirely convinced the CPU on PlayStation 5 still has enough headroom for that. Although I will say, if they bring on that team and give them source code for PlayStation 3, I mean, I'm sure some amazing things could happen, but then that creates a conflict of interest. You're basically going to have to hire those people, and then our PCS3 gets shut down. Which I don't know if that's really an ideal scenario.
I feel like it would get shut down. Let's go. I mean, we have builds of it now, but you're right. I think it would probably get shut down then, and they'd say we're partnering with Sony. This is going now.
I see people say that. It's like that's not a good outcome. I don't want our PCS3 shut down because Sony hired them, because then you're going to have to deal with how they monetize.
If our PCS3 was a smart group of people, which I'm sure they are, they would negotiate something better than just one or the other, right? Like I feel like they would, if they had, hopefully, they wouldn't just sign off on the dotted line when they saw the money coming in. Hopefully, they would be like, well, we don't want to give up everything. We still want some creative freedom here to do our own shit. So maybe it's more along the lines of, you guys, Sony is like 1 year ahead in as far as the technology, and the public is, further behind us. I don't know, but I would hate to see that happen. I think that would be terrible.
That'd be interesting though, if that did happen though, where they partnered with them and they got it working, and it's like we had to bring in the outside A team to get it done. But hey, if it means I can put PS3 games in my PS5, that'll work. Tired of the streaming on it. It's not great, but it's gotten better for PS5 games. Yeah, right. For PS5, it's gotten a little bit. PS3 though, you're still running off of like these old PS3 server blade things, and it's like, gosh, why can't you just do the backwards compatible tricks and make it run better? Come on.
I made a jailbreak video 3 weeks ago. Get on that jailbreak, guys. 4.91 custom firmware just came out
for the PS3.
Yep.
All right. We used to have to use the easy flash on the Slims back in the day. You got to break them apart, and you got to pin this thing to the the North Bridge, and you'd like pull it from it and write it back, and it was a whole thing. It seems like it's way easier now. So I think we used to buy they used to sell the Cobra USBs too. Remember that, MVG?
Yeah.
You buy those and drop it into the right slot.
I have one somewhere.
And those are the Wild West days of the mod. Now it's like you put this on a USB, drop it in, you're good to go. It's like, oh, okay. Way easier now. No, I didn't see that. The only thing that's weird about the PS3 is it feels like there's still hoops to jump through just to load a game because you got to use like Webman.
Yeah.
Web thing. It's a little different.
That's if you use Hen.
That's
yeah,
right.
I like
If you
the
use
idea
Hen-
of like powering the system on and it just has the games. Like the 360 one, that looks cool. So like the Recyclich one that you showed MVG?
You don't like having to press another button, like two button presses to launch a game because you press it once from Webman and then it mounts the disc. Then you press again to launch the game. You don't like that.
That's way too many steps for
I like
that.
the clean
Apparently.
look though that you get on like the Xbox 360 one looked awesome, where it's just like a rotating carousel of games. Or on the original Xbox, you have that too. It just looks cleaner. I don't know.
Yeah, Multiman's got some pretty good
Okay.
skins. You should check that out again.
Okay, maybe I will. It's been a while since I've actually checked it out, though. I will say that. So maybe I will check it out again, and maybe I'll do a video and just have my experiences modding this. I was going to do that for the 360. I was going to take one of my slim 360s, do the new Recyclich hack where you just need 2 wires and a resistor on the back, and I was going to use the Raspberry Pi Pico to flash it. So I wasn't even going to use like the official. I was going to use like the Pico to do it. So I just wanted to go through the process and see how it would come out the other side. So maybe the PS3 will do one too. We'll see. I got a couple slims waiting around. So, but that could be fun. Let me see. So we have the mod. There we go. Maybe what I'll do, I think, is I'll go to Super Chess. I also missed a Streamlab message from last week that I wanted to get to. Let's see. We have Cody Bishop. I can put it right here on screen. Sandland is going to hit so much different now. Yeah, that's that'll be interesting when that one comes out. But I will pick up a physical copy of that. So I'll grab it on the PS5. Link says if Nintendo were to bring back a WiiWare game or games that you remember, like Crystal Chronicles, My Life as King, Lost Winds, Pop, what would it be?
Oh,
Yeah,
I know. I have one.
Oh,
There
okay.
was-
Okay.
There was like
What
one
do you got?
WiiWare game, like it was like a dude, like I don't know, it was like a little like boy, or like he has like a wind powers or something like that. I forgot the name of the game though. It's kind of cool though. I don't remember the name.
What do you got, MVG? What's the WiiWare game?
Well,
What's the
it
move?
has to be the Rebirth games. Castlevania
Oh, yeah,
Rebirth,
that's-
Contra
yeah.
Rebirth, Raiders
okay.
Rebirth.
Contra. I remember Contra. I remember that
Rebirth.
one. That was a
I'll
good
take
one.
any one of those Rebirth games.
This is Tijo says, how do you think Toriyama's passing will affect the Sandland Media project in the long run? Will they honor his vision? That is a good question because people are curious about a lot of the projects he was working on and what will happen. I'm honestly unsure. And I actually think a lot of the other people around that project are also unsure right now. So it's something they're going to figure out. But I'm not. We got to see the game come out, and I think the media itself continue forward, and we'll see from there.
The game's called Lost Winds. There you go.
Lost Winds. Got it.
Yes.
There we go. I'm very curious how this what'll happen with Dragon Ball. That's what I'm curious about because they have a lot that's actually happening here in the next like 2 years now for it. It's from Tijo again saying, do people not realize that Nintendo, Sony, and other publishers like Sega and LRG develop and use their own emulators?
Not always. Sometimes they take them.
This is from IRS saying people want a statue in Mexico dedicated to him. I believe that's for Toriyama. This is from Tijo says, who grew up with the DBZ instrumental opening? I mean, just the opening in general from the show. That's what I grew up with. Breaksu says, do you guys think the dates for Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario will be announced tomorrow for Mario Day on X? Well, if you believe Piaro, then yes, they probably will be. Probably will be announced tomorrow.
I see what you did there, John. I called out Pioro as well on Twitter last week.
Pyro, Pyro. I hope I've been announcing it wrong the whole time. Yeah, I that's apparently the word is that they're going to have some other announcements tomorrow, and it might be release date and then just another trailer or something. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's Mario Day tomorrow. You feel like Nintendo will put out something. So they have been kind of building up to it too. Every day they kind of put something out there, just kind of talking about Mario, building up to it. So we'll see. I would like to see Luigi Mansion 2 at least get its release date because I think that is probably the next 3 months. Let's see. Cody says WB should make Twisted Metal inspired Mad Max game. WB is removing, shutting down, and doing live services, so I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Josh says Unicorn Overlord was a big surprise. Final Fantasy Tactics mixed with Fire Emblem. Really good stuff. You guys played it. The demo is pretty beefy if you're curious. I did. I played the demo. I haven't played the game itself yet because I'm working through Rebirth right now, but I did like the demo. I played like 3 hours of it, and that demo was way longer than it should be. So it's been a pretty good
The
experience.
demo transfers over to the full game.
Yeah, it does. Basically gets you started early. So Vanillaware did good. They did good, like usual. Actually, I don't know why I said that like it was weird. They basically all. Let's see. Pyro, not Pioro, says in general, why does MVG usually judge developers and games quite rudely at times? When limited run games is far from perfect. MVG got like a 2 out of 10 at one point on Metacritic, right? Was it a 3 out of 10?
2 out of 10.
Improve then bash, dude.
Well, Pyro716, great question, and I respect the question. My response is, dude, let me have my opinions, man. Like, I don't talk about, my opinions are my own, not the company I work for. So, let me have my opinions. And
do you bash games quite rudely? I'm trying to figure out where the bashing of games quite rudely comes from.
I guess I must have upset him at some point when I had some take on something. But
was it the card take? Was it Queen's Blood? Is that
probably? Yeah. Still haven't played a game of Queen's Blood.
Queen's Blood slander.
Queen's Blood is good. It's actually legitimately good, though.
We'll get to that in a bit. We're basically doing a running of like our updates around Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth because this game just keeps going. So MVG is actually pretty far too. No spoiler. I will tell you this. He's pretty far. He's getting there.
Hoping to wrap it up soon.
There you go. Tijo says with the shocking news of Toriyama's passing, anime fans are in disarray. How will they move forward from this? Find out next time from Dragon Ball Z. Well, like I said, they have a new series coming out at the end of this year, so we'll see how they go. Let's see. Just Some Gamer says Dragon Ball Super Episode 64 review was the first Spawn Wave video I watched, and I've been here ever since. Rip Toriyama. Thank you for the years of inspiration. Yeah, I used to go through the different Dragon Ball Super episodes back in the day when they would come out. And they don't do Super right now, so I can't do that now. But yes, I used to actually Dragon Ball videos and video game stuff too.
That I did not know.
See? There you go. Been Dragon Ball fan for a long time since like
have to go back and watch the classics.
There you go.
Videos.
There you go. Yeah, long fan of Dragon Ball. So G-Man says, would John allow Microsoft to acquire the Spawncast? Ooh.
Oh God, yes.
We would take the bag.
What kind of drinks truck are they backing up?
Would you distribute that a little bit, or are we screwed? Or are we,
oh yeah.
If we would get retention bonuses.
Right? I'll take a small percentage. I'm not being greedy. I'll take a little percentage.
Yeah, give me a little. I'm good, please. Get acquired.
Can we just shoot the podcast from like a resort somewhere then, or like just like a big chunk of land down in like the Bahamas or something you buy, and you just record the Spawncast from the beach.
And nothing changes. It's still the same show.
Yeah, still same show. Just get some green screens all behind us.
We'll probably make some green border to put around it or something.
Big green screen all the way around. It's cool.
I'll have to call you Sesh Paul John.
There you go. This from Riz says, I wish you guys were at PAX East this year. Would have been awesome to see y'all live. I need to go to PAX East one year. I do. Maybe I've been waiting for like whenever Nintendo decides that. I'm thinking a PAX East where Nintendo has their new system out might be a good move because I assume they'd be showing it. So, or if Sony had like a PlayStation 6 one year or something, maybe then would be the time. But I'm thinking that's what I'd line it up with. So hopefully next year I'll go. We'll see. Got to get MVG out there too. PAX East. Make him go.
The problem is it's the same week as GDC, John. So
that's right. That does kind of mess it up.
I'm going to be at GDC again this year.
I forgot that does mess it up.
It makes it very, very difficult.
Jorge says, you think the next Mario Kart can reach 60 million in sales, or does it have to with how 8 Deluxe performed? The next one. I don't know about that.
It'd be tough for it to sell 60 million.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think they would just do it where the next Mario Kart will foundationally be what it is now, which is it's going to be the only game you're going to get for that entire life cycle, to where it is then going to climb up to 60-something million?
That's how Mario Kart usually is, though. Mario Kart usually is the only game, but it's never been this popular, with the exception, even like the Wii version, right? That was the last best-selling one. That was like, what, 40 million, I think, for that one. So it's never been this crazy. This is just, nobody expected Mario Kart to do this.
I have a possible way to get 60 million. What if the next version is Mario Kart 8 Plus, like you guys were saying, basically just the Super Deluxe version, right?
Yep.
But they sell for $40.
Oh,
that's still. I don't think that
that's how we do it.
That's
the casuals
numbers.
The casuals don't upgrade. The casuals will just stay with their
numbers.
Mario Kart. They won't buy that.
I mean, you have to put something compelling in for them to upgrade, right? Like maybe
they won't.
You track
not necessarily, because you can just pack it in and then count it as a separate sale.
Just do it the other way. Just turn off the servers and say, go to this game instead.
I don't know, man. They tried that stuff with like the Wii Fit and all that, like the Wii Fit Plus and that stuff where they tried to bring it over to Wii U, and like people just they didn't care. The people that had that, they're like, I already got Wii Fit. You know,
I almost wonder if they would just call the next Mario Kart just Mario Kart. Like, do you need a number on the end of it anymore? If you're going to run this thing for another 10 years, just Mario Kart.
Or would have a subtitle like Double Dash.
Mario Kart, when the first game was called Super Mario Kart.
There you go.
Mario Kart 64. Then you had, I mean, there's been numbers recently, but yeah, like, I mean, there's still some of them are subtitles, but a lot of them are numbers, right? Since like Mario Kart 7. Yeah, Mario Kart 7. That was when they started the numbers, but before then it was just like based off the system, right? It was just
that's true.
Except for Double
Dash.
Yeah. Except for Double Dash. But
I feel like they would, if they're going to do another 10-year Mario Kart, like maybe plan the title around that idea.
I'm guessing it's going to be the next Mario Kart's going to be more built like Splatoon, where it's going to be like rotating different stuff and like, you know, stuff like that. So it'll probably last another 10 years for the next Mario Kart game.
This is from Cristobal. Says, good Spawncast as usual and great guest in Mystic. Does the Nixie? Well, first off, Mystic is he's not a guest. He's here. He's part of the Spawncast now. He's here. He's arrived. He's arrived. Does the Nixie Warrior controller work on the Wii consoles that can also play GameCube games? That is a good question. It should, because that just emulates the Wavebird, which would work because you have an adapter that you plug into the GameCube controller port. So that should work, yes. But I'm going to pick one up and we'll you know what, Cristobal, we'll test it out. I will find out. And I do want to recognize Manata Mario, became a member here. Thanks for the awesome Spawncast. Just curious, how old do you think a console should be to consider retro?
20 years.
20 years. Okay, I ran a poll for this, and I think 20 years was the most.
I said 15. I said 15 years.
The PS3 is almost 20 years old.
Oh, I like it.
Is it retro? I mean, it's not quite.
20 years. 20 years.
Close. It's
2026.
Okay, 2026. You will then step back and say the PS3 that has HDMI, Blu-ray, and a built-in hard drive and a wireless controller is retro.
Very retro.
Okay. I'll just checking. That thing's you know what's weird about that system? If you look at it like the original one, the piano black gloss, it doesn't look 20 years old.
That's why I love it. Because it looks amazing. It's the coolest console design out there. But as far as retro goes, if it can still do component, I would say that's pretty retro at this point.
That's one of the really interesting things I keep hearing about, how the PS3 is the only Blu-ray drive out there that can do component. I mean, from a game console perspective, that is.
AV even.
Yeah.
Just do the yellow, red, and white. Just hook them up. Yep. That is interesting because usually you get Blu-ray drives to players now and there's just HDMI on the back. There's like nothing else really. Huh. I didn't think of that
That was a big thing with PS4 at the time, right? When Microsoft and Sony shipped that generation, only HDMI.
That's a video right there, Ryan. A video just trying all PS3 games or a bunch of PS3 games at 480i.
I did when it came out.
I'm
I
just
didn't
saying,
have HD right away.
You can't like
I
on the
loved it.
360. You can't play Dead Rising through the AV port. You can't do that. So I'm curious if there are PS3 games you can't play if it's running through like the old 480i input.
That would probably be a developer mandate. It has to run at 480.
No, I mean like you can't read the text.
Oh, like okay.
You can't read the text in the game. It's impossible. It even tells. I remember that when that happened, they put out like a whole thing online that was like, well, you kind of need component, and it has to be at least 720p to read the text correctly because it was broken up if it was interlaced. It was
That's
really
a good
funny.
point. I didn't think about that.
See, there you go. Look at that. Hey, I'd watch that video. That's an interesting idea.
Watch me struggle to read.
Hey, just find games that just get destroyed by the 480i signal. Let me go over to the Streamlabs where I missed Alan, who said Epic Games bankrolled Alan Wake 2 while Remedy struggled to find financing anywhere. It's not going to Steam any sooner than Fortnite would. Marketing set this game up to sell weak. Even MVG skipped it, which is a shame because it's a graphical masterpiece. MVG played Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, I did in the end, but I still want.
You didn't play it on
physical.
PC.
No, I played it on Xbox. I still want a physical.
They need to get on that. I'm surprised they haven't. Like even Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be physical before.
Yeah, four discs apparently.
That's crazy. As is, Microsoft really does not have the 100 gigabyte Blu-ray.
Nope, they never upgraded.
I almost want to buy that because that's going to be one of those weird games that's like comes up in a trivia question. Which Xbox Series game needed 4 discs to release? I feel like that'll be one of those weird ones.
That's where your mind went.
Hey, I'll be ready for Trivial Pursuit in 20 years. So this Jen says, MVG just got my Xbox, so I got to play Xbox Limited Run. Are the full games on the Xbox disc, or should I stick to PS5/Switch?
In general for Xbox or the limited run releases? I think here's the thing: if it has smart delivery on the sticker, it's not the full game. So I would say I would recommend the Switch or the PS5 versions because I couldn't say which games have the full version on and which don't. But if you want to be safe, Switch is number one. Absolutely will have the game on there. PS5 will 99.99% certainty will have them. Xbox, maybe like 40% will have them, honestly.
Okay. Then Adam asks, does the cast have a comfort game and or series that they find themselves returning to when they aren't in the mood for the latest AAA release? They say mine is the Dead Space series. With how good the remake of 1 was, I'm very hopeful for the future. Just a comfort game you return to when you're just not feeling it for AAA titles.
Yeah. Recently, Dread. That's for Dread. Sometimes I just, if not play anything, I'll just boot up Dread and just play that game. It's fast, quick.
I was picturing Smash Brothers for you. Just like, I play
Smash. That used to be like, but that game's old at this point. So I mean, Dread's old too, but Smash is older. But that kind of used to be. I would do that, but there's not enough content for me to kind of go back to it and play it like that. So yeah, Dread for me, just rebeating Dread or just playing through like the hard mode or like the Dread mode, like where you just die and like it's like one hitting, you're like just cooked. So stuff like that's fun. I get cooked in that game all the time.
If there's a game that I just kind of want to just zone out with, usually I'll just fire up Skater XL on the Xbox. Just like,
dude, for me, I'm playing Half-Life or Half-Life 2.
Okay. That's good.
What about a retro? Oh, like back in the day, I know for me, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. That'd be a game you just
that was a classic. Yeah,
pop in, just play on PS1.
Turn your brain off.
Yeah, turn your brain off. Just play, just skate the hanger, and just do tricks. You know, Rodney Mullen. That's what I did all the time. Whenever I was pissed, happy, sad, whatever. You know,
Rodney or Steve Caballero.
Rodney Mullen is the
Okay,
greatest athlete in the history, better than Jordan. Rodney Mullen is the greatest athlete of all time, better than Jordan, better than everyone. No,
I only
cap.
played Tony Hawk one way. That was press A. Just A until you're in. So I'm always picking Tony Hawk with the default stats, default everything, and I'm just
you
going.
need to play Tony Hawk on the PS1, Tony Hawk 2 on the PS1. So it's the X, right?
That's a short right there. Just how does MVG play Tony Hawk? Just
I was joking with the Rodney Mullen comment better than Jordan, but no, the dude is like an incredible athlete though. Like he is actually legitimately like goated. You haven't seen Rodney Mullen mixtapes?
Speaking now.
What's up?
He has inspirational speaking now.
He should be. Have you seen what he's done on a skateboard? Jesus Christ. He should be an inspirational speaker.
Let me go over now to the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth discussion, because we started it up, talk a little bit about it here with Queen's Blood. Ryan is still working towards it. We will not spoil it for you, Ryan. Don't worry. We'll do our best.
Don't spoil it for me either. I'm not super far. I've been doing side quests.
MVG is the furthest ahead, so he has the most he could spoil, but I think he'll be good about it.
I won't say anything, obviously. I'm 35 hours in. I'm on chapter 13, so I'm getting there.
I'm 37 hours in, and I'm still in chapter 10. I was starting to do some of the side quests.
That's crazy, man. Like that just shows you how much content there is. Because I'm like 20. I think I just hit 22 hours, 23, and I'm like on chapter 4. So like,
well, something's going to happen soon. Does something happen in one chapter? And I started mainlining it because I'm like, all right, I got to see what happens after that, because there's definitely some high points in the story that just immediately pulls you along with it, like to where I was just running past certain side quests. So like, I got to see what the next thing is here with this one. But then he gets like some down areas where I feel like, okay, now I'm going to start wandering around doing side quests. So I did take out some of the summons though. MVG, I don't know if you've tried any of those in the combat simulator.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done some of the combat simulator. I did get, I can say I got Titan and some of
you can get him right away.
The early ones. So yeah, I've done I've done a bunch of the combat simulator, but I will say that, like, you know, all the different biomes, zones, whatever you call them, I've activated maybe a handful of towers and maybe, you know, found the chocobo, and that's about it really. So I've done a couple of side missions here and there, but like I've done about 5% of side missions in the game.
Oh, I love that. I'm like literally doing every single one. Like I'm pretty much almost done, like completely with like the second biome or whatever, like the second area, the Junon area or whatever. Like I'm almost done completely. I already did the grasslands, finished all that. Now I'm doing all this. The side quest content is so good in this game. Like I was so shocked at how much I'm liking the side quest content in this game. Like I know there's some repetition there and some boring stuff in there, but it's still fun. Like there's a certain level of like dopamine rush, like when you finish it and like a little thing pops up and it's like you're almost done, you've completed, you've got this many, you know, you get your points and all that. I don't know. I just love this side quest.
I'm surprised. There's some legitimate rewards at times for these different side, like you said, the side quest thinking it's going to give you experience and like party experience, that kind of thing, SP. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, here's a weapon for this character. It's like, like a whole weapon that ends up being at the end of the quest line, because it'll be multiple ones. It'll show you little bubbles for how far along you are in it. And at the end, it's like, here you go. There's a weapon for this character that's way better. Or
there's some like incredible materia that you can get, or some different things. It's like super, super cool. Especially like if you're into Queen's Blood, right? If you do like the extra side quests with that, like the cards that you get, the side quests are very rewarding. Like they're very rewarding. Like a lot of times in these games, like the side quests can just be like, don't feel like doing them, like a lot of these RPGs, but like this one just feels like I want to do every single one. And like I haven't felt that way about a RPG, for me at least, since like Xeno 3. A lot of times like side quests, I'll do them, but I won't. I'm just kind of like, I just do them just because. But this one, I actually seek them out and want to do the side quests in this game.
I will admit this, okay, here after 37 hours, that there is padding in the main story.
Yes.
I will admit it.
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go.
Oh, yeah.
It's even early. It's even earlier than that. Like well earlier than that. There's some padding. There's definitely padding, which once again I don't understand because of all the great side content that's in the game.
It's a game that it's going to take me longer to beat this one than 16. I'm already starting to kind of see that.
Oh, yeah.
But 16 took me 46 hours to play through the first time, and then I started back through the second run. So I think this is going to take me a bit longer than that, but it's the padding is evident at times, I will say, but I feel like the highs are outweighing the padding that pops up, and I don't feel like I've spent too much time in any one area, like unless I want to. So that's something with Remake. I felt like there were areas, whether it's the sewers or Shinra Tower, where I felt like it was just kind of going a little too long, and it's like, okay, we're still here. In this case, though, I feel like it's like, okay, an hour doing this, then you're off to this other zone, now you're off to this other area, and it's moved along at a fair pace where I don't feel like it's waning on me. So it's there. I get it. The Paddington Bear gif, all that, sure, but it's I'm having fun with the game, which is what I was looking for. So, and I feel like there's a lot of content to it, so I'm having a good time so far. Again, they can still mess it up. I still have so many more chapters in front of me. They could do some weird stuff at the end to mess it up. I don't know, but I will. Story's been fine too so far. So the boss battle's not on the level of 16. I will say that 16 has the boss battle advantage, but everything else, I think 7 Rebirth is taking it for me.
What
so
level are you guys?
I am almost 38.
Okay.
Level am I at 20 something for me? I don't remember exactly what level I'm on, but definitely 20 something.
So I'm actually 46, which is actually quite higher than I thought I would be at this point, given I've done barely any side content. So I think this game really makes it very easy for you to level up, you know. And,
like if you go through the main quest line, the battles they throw. Okay, yeah, I see
yeah.
So because I assume with most of these Final Fantasies, I mean, kind of in 16 because you can fast travel everywhere. Eventually, you get to a position where you can travel around easier. And if you get to the end and you're level 50 something, and you just go back and start blitzing through the stuff, that would probably be the path to go. Then it's just mainline it, get to the end, and then come back to all areas and do whatever you need to do.
That's what I'm thinking that I'm going to do ultimately. I think the thing I'm really invested in is just the story. I want to see where this goes. I obviously have no idea where this is going to go, so just want to see what the conclusion is.
Mm-hmm. I can't mention much about the story, but there are some aspects that I'm a little, I don't say concerned about, but unsure of. I'm waiting for some stuff to appear in the game, is what I'll say, and that's gonna make me feel a bit better about what's happening in the chapter 10-ish area. But people will get through it and they'll see what I mean as they go. But the one thing though that came up that I'll admit surprised me a bit here, and MVG had I think a good idea for a reason. I think OJ had some ideas for it, but the game with the initial sales in Japan lower than I think everyone expected. I think most of us thought it would come in above 16, mostly because there's more PS5s now. It's been 8 months since 16 came out, just on the initial first wave of sales. But it came out at 262,000 versus 16's 336,000. And this is technically the lowest we've seen a mainline Final Fantasy release in Japan in terms of just raw units sold. And in fact, compared to 7 Remake on the PS4, again, I know the PS4 there's more systems out there, almost a factor of 2. It was close. But that was 702,000, almost 3 times the sales then. And a lot of people trying to figure out what's going on here. I did pose a question on Twitter, kind of purposefully, to be honest, just to get some conversation going, and it did. People were weighing in.
Oh, yeah, my post got a lot of interesting folks too. I appreciate
Listen, that. I don't have the brains for all this marketing, sales, Japan stuff. Here's what I do know. Josie was on last week, and she doesn't care about Final Fantasy.
Nope.
Us old boomers, we love Final Fantasy. Yeah. But someone Josie's age and around that generation, they don't give a shit about Final Fantasy. I'm not saying that that's what's happening here, but I feel like some of it has to do with the fact that
you're right.
I don't think Final Fantasy is translated to a younger audience, maybe the way Square Enix was intending that it would. Maybe they were relying on a lot of, just nostalgia, history, and older fans like us to embrace the game, but the younger generation, people that love playing video games, that are half our age, they don't give a shit about Final Fantasy. And Square's got to figure that out somehow. I don't know what they do, but they got to figure it out.
Cell phone game.
they've tried and failed.
Fortnite's good. I like it. See, now we're brainstorming.
They literally made a Fortnite clone called First Soldier, and it failed. It's already they released it and then it shut down within like a year.
The skins and put it in Fortnite.
A cloud in Fortnite. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's right around that time period. What I see, comparing the opening sales, right around that Final Fantasy 13 timeline. That's when people just said, "I'm good." It seemed like that was around the time. But then Final Fantasy 15 came out and did really well. Needed super discounts and sales, but it did really good. That was 700,000 plus for that game on the PS4, and the PS4 had a smaller install base. This is Japan only. PS4 had a smaller install base at the time, comparative, right? And it did really well. So there's definitely, regardless of install base, right? Final Fantasy is released in various different install bases. It can be a launch title, right? Like the PS2 game, Final Fantasy X. I mean, that launched at, I think I'm seeing 1.7 million, and there was barely any install base at all. So I think the bigger issue is like, it's no longer like a system driver or seller in Japan. It used to be right. When Final Fantasy came out, people would rush out there, go buy the system for the game if it's only on PlayStation, right? Like it used to be like, oh, you'll see sales of 300,000, 400,000 PS1s sold or PS2 sold in Japan or whatever the case. Some crazy numbers. That's no longer the case. Like 48,000 units in Japan. So people aren't, like MVG saying, there's a problem with the base of new people buying it. People that want Final Fantasy, they already got a PS5 or they just don't care about, Final Fantasy as much anymore, which sucks, because like Final Fantasy is incredible. And this one to me is incredibly well done. So yeah, man, I was shocked at this. This is incredibly low for Final Fantasy. And we don't have digital sales. So just people let me know about that. We don't have digital sales, but even let's just say this doesn't happen, but even if you double the digital sales, like just double the sales, it's still lower than FF7 Remake. If you even doubled the physical sales, so let's just say it sold 100% of what the physical sold, which it didn't in Japan, but let's just say it did. That's still lower than FF7 Remake. That's still lower than FF15. That's still really low, guys. Even if you double the sales with digital, and it was
never going to sell what Remake sold. That was the end of the PS4 life cycle, and it was right when lockdowns hit. That could not have been a perfect time to launch a nostalgic, big anticipated remake than right then and there. Having said that, I think it's important to remember the conversation and the numbers we're working off of is only off of Japan.
Yes.
This is a very Western global franchise now, to be honest. What I'm curious about, because this did surprise me, I'm like, wow, it didn't even beat 16, but it's still Japan. I'm like, well, let's see what the final number for this thing is globally. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm very curious to see, based on that number, what is Square's language going to be for their financial report? What are they going to say to shareholders about how this game, how well it did or did not do? It's very surprising from the Japanese numbers, but I'm wondering how reflective is that going to be for everywhere else? Because that is a very different market nowadays for Japan. They're just not that big on home console.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at it, man, and I just see how it is from like FF7 and to now at this point, and it's such a drastic drop. So that's what has me concerned a bit, for Final Fantasy. But yeah, we have to see the worldwide sales. But the more that I look into it, I talk to my chat and I see what other people are saying. They're just like, well, I don't like how they did Cloud. He can't do this. Like people complain about, that's fine. People are allowed to complain, but there's like so many little things that people say, oh, I didn't buy the game because they're splitting up the game into 17 parts. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a whole new game, guys. Like it doesn't follow the same, people are making up and that's fine. People can buy whatever they want. I'm not trying to say that people aren't allowed to buy, like they have to buy the game. I'm not saying that at all, but it just seems like there's a lot of people out there that are just like, no, I don't want to buy it because X, Y, and Z, or I'm not going to get it, or it looked cool, but I'm good. I don't know, which is a little bit disheartening because the game is really good. Like it's a really good, action RPG.
I think MG brought this up to me also when we were kind of talking about it a bit, like when the numbers came out, and the idea that Remake could have actually put people off because of the direction to where they just said, I think I'm good. It's okay.
Yeah,
And
I
you know what's
mean-
weird is I had some friends that aren't really plugged in like that, like play games all the time and talk about it all the time, and they're like, oh yeah, I mean I might get to it at some point. We'll see. There wasn't that excitement like remake, and I was like, oh, go to MG.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said about changing the story of this one. I mean, I think it's, from my perspective, I think it's interesting that they've done that. I don't have an issue with it, but also I just wonder, maybe they should have just treated this more like Resident Evil 2 remake, where it's just a straight remake of a game, enhanced for modern generations with a modern 3D engine. If they just did that, maybe that would have been more successful for them. Look, there's so many scenarios that we could say where they messed up and they could have done better. We don't really know. We don't have the numbers that they have, right? But like at the end of the day, for me, I like Rebirth and I like Remake. The ending of Remake really annoyed me. And look, the ending of this one may annoy me as well. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But part of me just wishes, why didn't they just remake this game, and not, Nomura.
Reimagine it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that did put some people off, like MVG saying, like, if this was just a straight up, hey, we're remaking the game, but then we're adding a bunch of content to that said game, right? It doesn't have to be where they're doing all all this, but how long would that game take? I know that they did talk about why they didn't go that route. I'm pretty sure that they did, and they had their reasons why they didn't do that as well. But yeah, man, like, I don't know. Like I said, we have to wait for the full, numbers, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We don't have the digital numbers in the US, which they don't ever say what the numbers are, but usually we only get numbers from like Square Enix. Square Enix will tell us, hey, it sold this much in a week. That's usually what they tell us. Like, hey, a week's, it sold 3 million something in a week, right? They did that with FF16, but now with the numbers significantly seems like lower in Japan. I mean, did this game actually do better than 16's like debut? I think what was 16? 3 point something million in the first.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did tell us, didn't they? It was like,
they did tell us. So, but the numbers in Japan are significantly, well, not significantly, but a good bit lower, like, right? We're talking about lower. 80,000 units or something like that. And like I said, no, we don't have digital numbers, so that's still a good chunk. So, will they actually say anything at this point? Because we still haven't gotten an update for Final Fantasy 16. The last thing, it was the first week numbers. They have not given us any type of update for Final Fantasy 7 Remake. We got updates somewhat regularly. I think the game's over 7 million units now for FF7.
Yeah, for Remake,
but it's on a massive install base. It's on PC, PS4, and PS5. That's a huge base of people to sell the game to compared to just PS5. So it's tougher.
Well, we'll see if Square decides to drop any numbers in the next couple weeks here. But the third one it's coming. Apparently, a lot of the work's already done for it. So they already built the world out, obviously. So
you think some people are just waiting for like the full thing and like have it like in like a whole pack, like just?
They might. I feel like that's going to be expensive though. Just get all three of them.
Yeah, the first one's on the PS4. This one's on the PS5. What, the next one's on the PS6? Is that what we're saying?
I think it was either going to get this third one out for the PS5. I think they're going to get it out at the end. Like
the
way that they were talking about it.
Cross-gen, yeah, definitely cross-gen game like FF7 Remake was.
So you think, because they said 4 years, right? Like they need 4 years to make this game.
4 years.
So you think in 4 years we'll still be playing?
I think they're going to get it out 2028, like April or so, and then
it might be
6 months later.
They're making it on. They're making it on PS5 dev kits now. So.
It might be short. Maybe 3 years.
PS5 Pro coming out this year. I mean,
we need it. You've seen the performance mode. We need it. I need that PS5.
Well, they got an update coming. Be patient, John. There's an update coming.
Yeah, the update's called the PS5 Pro. Let's get it
out. No, there's an update coming for those who don't know. There's John, you talked about on this.
Yeah, there's an update coming.
So there's an update coming. So we gotta wait and see, what the update looks like. But oh man, it's all good, man. Hopefully, like I said, we do know like this, guys. Also, like Sony did give them a nice bag for this game, so it's not like they're not gonna shut down like the studio or anything. So we also have to factor that in. It's just for me, it's tough to see this drop because clearly Final Fantasy's not selling like what it used to be. So what's their initiative to get more people in? I mean, I still personally feel that they should have. I think Capcom did a little bit better job than them in terms of like future proofing their stuff. Monster Hunter now is massive at this point. They have 2 separate series, portable side and not, and even like individual uniquely built games. Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter World. You have both of those. I think Square Enix should definitely look into that in terms of Final Fantasy, making a high-end traditional based Final Fantasy, and also having this new age Final Fantasy that they want to do, pushing tech, whatever the case is. I think they should look into that like Capcom did with Monster Hunter.
And if this is a teen rated game versus mature rated FF16, which that does affect it at retail in terms of going up to the counter and buying it. So some of the 14 or 15 year olds can't get it. So it's we'll see with that one, but Sony probably going to stick around and fund the third one and then fund.
How do the 14 and 15 year olds get GTA, bro? They because they're buying GTA. They find ways. Those kids find ways.
Back in the day, there were a lot of teenagers tried to get those games and they were not able to. They got stonewalled at the counter. So
really?
Yeah, we stonewalled them. Oh yeah.
Oh, you did, John? Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I need that ID. I'm checking it, see if it's fake, hitting the counter with it, make sure.
A lot of these guys at GameStop, they're like, oh, so it looks like they got the McLovin ID. They're like, here we go.
Yeah, no, you're serious, not getting caught with
like
that
looking
one.
like McLovin. All right, checks out. Here's your game.
Use a fake ID coming in there to get a game. You got a lot of your priorities are all messed up then.
People did it though.
That's like the last. Is that the first thing you think of if you secure a fake ID is to go buy a video game?
That's movie and video game. Movies, video game.
That's the first thing you go to. Oh, I can get Final Fantasy 16 now. Finally.
Movies, video games.
Yes. Speaking of sticking with Sony here for a minute, we did have Stellar Blade. The demo went live, and it got pulled down a few hours later. But the thing that I think surprised a lot of people, because people didn't seem to know you could do this, and I think it had that kind of aha moment clicked a little bit in their mind about the digital age. Like Sony took it out of people's libraries. If you're connected to the internet, they revoked the entitlement. That's the word we use now. Microsoft said it on stage, entitlement. They took it back. And that was it. You could not play it
even if your console was in Rust mode, they can still pull your license.
They pulled the license, and people were like, "They can do that." Like they were thinking about like their digital library. Like, oh,
that is, as far as I know, the only time they've done that.
That was interesting. I think John Linneman on Twitter was like, they just showed that they can do that, and he was like, "That's not good."
There's been a few times that I remember, like nefarious means that some people have used, where a company, I think Nintendo, took somebody's whole library of games, like digital games somehow. So I know that there was a couple other times where that's happened, where somebody can pull something, but it was because there was something clearly where there was an issue with that person's account, right? Or there was something that happened.
Remember, was it not last year, the year before, where some woman had the Advance Wars game?
That's right.
And she was like posting screenshots and stuff. And I thought it was viral marketing for a minute. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is not viral marketing. Something's going on here. And then, they revoked the game. They took it away.
Oh, they did take it from her.
But she's dumb. She was talking about it. Like, if she didn't say anything, she would have gotten away with it.
Well, I think she posted online at first, like, is something wrong with my system? I can play Advanced Wars or something. At first, she was like that. They're just like, I can play it. Let me show you all about it. So it was, tend to revoke that real quick. But I feel like people just now realize that if we have just no physical copies and it's all digital stuff, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, these companies have a lot of control over that. And that's interesting. So,
well, Max got to play it, apparently.
Yeah. I saw that he did a video on it. Yeah, he reviewed it. The demo is about 90 minutes long, and the people who played it seem to like it. By the way, I think that demo is coming out this week. I think it's what's happening. I think there's going to be a trailer, a demo, probably a PlayStation blog post. They updated their Twitter handle or their X handle now, their profile that says, "Yeah, we're working on the demo. That's coming." So they shift up, probably messed that one up a little bit, or somebody did. And they're kind of joking about it now, but that, I don't know. It did make me pause a little bit too. It's like, that's it's interesting. You got to be online.
Are you surprised that this happened? That they just revoked the license remotely and took it away?
I feel like if you accidentally release the thing for a couple of hours, you might as well just release the thing. Whatever. Just, okay, here.
No.
It's the digital era now online where information travels immediately, and people were posting up entire playthroughs of it now. Someone was streaming it the other day. It's like,
Demos have leaked before. We've gotten stuff like this, or like even like the PT, right? Where they just said, well, we're not doing this anymore. And like they didn't remove PT from people's systems.
No, you can still buy a PS4 on eBay with PT on it, and it was worth way more than it should have been.
Yeah, so I mean, like I think I'm a little surprised that they decided to revoke the license. A little, it's like, okay, you want to just pull it, nobody else plays it, but the demo's coming soon. But to go in there and snatch it like that, I don't know, man. That just to me is not something that I think is like the all digital stuff. They have that power to do that, man. That's not cool. So I don't know. I'm a fan of the balance. I like. That's fine. Digital's great, but it can't just only be digital. There's got to be a balance. You got to have physical and you got to have both. They keep them both in check. All digital or all physical. It's like not either one's both, you know? So to me, all digital future becomes a lot scarier with stuff like this. And we saw what happened with the anime, right? Remember what was it? Forgot what anime site.
It was like it was with
Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll, right? Where they just erased like just, basically everything. Like if you had the digital copy of it with your disc, and you could punch the code in, they just got rid of that.
Just wiped it right there. So I mean, that's why you need the balance, guys. I can't just be like I see a lot of these digital warriors coming after them. Like, listen, you don't want only one place to buy groceries, right? You would want multiple places. You don't want only one place to buy clothes. Why would you want only one place to buy games? That's just the dumbest thing ever. You know, like it's stupid. If you guys go to economics, you guys understand this? Like you don't want one place to only buy something. That's not how good economy works. You know, you need competition. You need more different places. You can't just have one and they just think Sony's going to do right by you or Nintendo or Microsoft. No, they might not always do right by you, you know? Like, so I don't know. That's just I didn't not a fan of the move, but hey, it is what it is. They did what they did. So
it's interesting. I was thinking about this with the shift to digital that just seems inevitable at this point. Like eventually that'll be that. I think like I'd be shocked if the next systems now after, and I didn't even think about it until Phil Spencer mentioned that you can't even find like it's getting harder and harder to find manufacturers to make the Blu-ray drive for you now. So like that seems like a headache and an annoyance. It'd be easier if you just didn't have to do that. And I wonder if we're going to have right now we're talking about digital overtaking physical, right? Which eventually that happens. We're just 100% digital. That's the way it is. You know what's kind of getting better now, and I've noticed this with like GeForce Now? Streaming is getting shockingly good with some of those services. And I almost wonder...
Move on.
I almost wonder if...
None of us want to hear this.
It's gonna be 15 years out. No one will remember I ever said this. Geez. I feel like we're gonna have an entire situation, MEG, where it's gonna be the digital crowd that's like, we don't want the streaming stuff. And then the new generation cycles in, and then streaming overtakes digital, and it's all gone, and it's all in the cloud in 2040.
You're probably right.
It'll just be an interesting turnabout. Like instead, the digital crowd that's like, whatever needs physical.
If you build it, they will come.
It flips over.
Offer discs, they will come.
You know what you're going to start seeing is you're going to start seeing people saying, maybe I'll buy my game on GeForce Now. Maybe I'll do that.
No.
I mean, with all these streaming services fumbling content around left and right like it's nobody's business, I can't believe how many people I'm seeing, anecdotally, mind you, that are like, man, maybe I should get DVDs again.
Hey,
just so I can have that series. Like I'm tired of like, oh, now it's over at this streaming. So now I need these 3 services to maintain the content I like to watch. Like, and that's always a medium where like even that made sense going digital because you can consume that content so quickly. So you don't want to hang on to discs for that. But
hey, you get tired of your games leaking, all streaming, we're good. Don't got to worry about it anymore. You don't even get the files anyway. How are we gonna leak this stuff? Let me Princess Peach Showtime demo. It's out now. Anyone play it?
Yeah, played it. It's a Princess Peach game where you turn into different things, you turn into different stuff, and you play. It's exactly what it's advertised as. It's okay. It's nothing too crazy. Nothing seems like a 7 out of 10 type of game.
I played 30 minutes of it. I feel like it's for a younger audience.
Yeah, younger audience. Fine. Yeah, younger audience for sure. Nothing
It's
crazy.
perfectly
nothing-
fine. It's it doesn't seem like a very deep game in terms of its mechanics or progression. Nothing like that. It just seems like it'll be a fun release for the younger crowd and then just general audience, I'm sure. But I will say this is a game that does look fairly blurry in handheld mode. So, come on, Nintendo, get the next system rolling here. You need to do that. It's rough sometimes in that, but it's a good feel game. For some reason, Nintendo won't tell us it's a good feel game. What is that about? They don't know why they won't say that. Like they won't just be like, oh yeah, this is being developed by Good Feel in conjunction with us.
Because guys like Doc Traby start snooping around and start trying to find what games they're working on, what they're working on in the future. Because people like that acting all crazy. That's why.
I like their response.
Visibility.
What's that?
Like a lot of games, they tend to do that. They sort of hide the visibility of the developer.
It's interesting.
Right?
Like
they don't like plaster their names everywhere, usually.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. Their response was, you can look in the credits to find out who made it when it comes out. It's like, I'll wait for the screenshot. I don't know if I'm going to play through Princess Peach. Someone will get a picture of it. But it's that was a kind of a strange one. But hey, Princess Peach Showtime's out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yes. Okay. Deviation Games shuts down. Does anyone surprise? I feel like no one's really surprised about this because Sony apparently pulled funding. Ryan, you've mentioned this many times as well in your videos, going over it as it came up in the news.
Ryan, what's going on at Sony right now? Tell me in your words what's happening at Sony.
Oh, you missed the podcast where we talked about Sony laying off 8% of their stuff.
Let's hear it. What's happening?
My understanding last year is that the company was on a hiring freeze. Certain studios were still hiring, but like generally they were trying to cut costs around the anywhere they could, which is understandable. Global economy, we know every company's facing this. They were trying to hold off on it for a while, is my understanding. They were stopping unnecessary travel, hiring freeze across the board. But I was saying last year, like, I think it's gonna happen. I'm just hoping it's not too bad. But they did have another, in-house review, and it's an ugly reality, but that's kind of how it played out. I was just curious how big it was going to be. But as far as Deviation goes, yeah, they backed out of that game last year. Deviation had an 80% layoff. So like most of that team was out, which sucks, but they were hiring again recently. So it almost seemed like, and given we have the context of Jason Blundell, there's some kind of potential classing in-house with the founders, and Jason left. He's apparently at SIE now, which they poached a bunch of Deviation employees. So we assume they've got another team there that's maybe building Jason's vision. Dave Anthony, we thought maybe they had found funding elsewhere, so I was actually a little surprised that they were closed, if only because it seemed like they found another publisher. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, now they're gone. So I guess they couldn't find anybody else.
It's kind of a shame because I thought Deviation had a lot of potential to build. I mean, I don't say a Call of Duty killer or anything like that, but something that's at least somewhat comparable to a military, maybe futuristic, even first-person shooter, just with the lineage there. But it just seemed to be something that didn't unfortunately work out, whether it's the cooks in the kitchen not agreeing or just, I don't know, just the scope got way too much and it was like, we're not going to do this. But it just seemed to unfortunately break apart. And that's the thing that's a real shame, is that was the studio that they brought out on stage. Was that Jeff Keighley show? Yeah,
during Summer Games Fest, I think it was.
Yeah, they had a whole thing for him. They introduced him, and I don't know. Now I'm starting to think twice about when we see a studio get introduced or announced, brought on stage. It's like, we're gonna see your game, right? Are we sure? Because this seems to happen quite a bit. So
that's definitely one of those studios that was birthed from the crazy COVID game investing spike, and a lot of this industry is founded on relationships. Those are two pretty big names in the business. So, PlayStation is a platform holder. I mean, it seems like a pretty good opportunity to, step in and help these two get off the ground. It's not like they don't have a portfolio and a resume that can be backed, but it just seems like whatever progress they made and whatever sort of internal clashing in terms of what they wanted this thing to be. As I had to say, yeah, we're out.
It's unfortunate. We London Studios going too.
Yeah, that's another.
Oh man,
unfortunate
that one hurts a lot. Like
I feel that too, because
that hurts a lot.
If you look at the history, like last 15, 20 years, like SingStar, iPad, they do a lot of experimental camera games. Like historically, I think a lot of people probably weren't playing their games, but this goes way back to like Team Soho, Psygnosis.
Yeah. This is the fabric that made PlayStation what it is. It's like Japan Studio. It really hurts that the loss of London Studio. You're right. Like as far as what they've done in recent times, sure, you can talk about that all you like, but this is more about the legacy and the history of PlayStation more than anything, and it's just being, eradicated.
I mean, they made Blood and Truth. That was an actual like good VR game from Sony back then. I mean, that's really what they needed for PSVR 2 as a studio that could come in and make a good title. And it's interesting that they decided to cut them loose. That to me kind of makes me think that PSVR 2 is.
Well, they were moved on to a standard 2D game. It was going to be a live service title.
Oh yeah, it was like that. They showed concept art for it.
Mm-hmm. Which that was like, I get it with the whole live service thing. You hear that, and a lot of people turn their heads off. But I was kind of excited to see London Studio go back to a 2D game because they were always doing like that was kind of like the studio that always they made stuff for PlayStation accessories. That's why it was always Move or PlayStation Eye or iToy or the SingStar mics. They always did that stuff. So. And that goes into like PSVR. Like Sony had another studio, Manchester Studio. They never got a game out. That studio closed. And I believe a lot of that talent was absorbed into London since the proximity of the studio. They were both doing PSVR stuff. But to think they were going to go back to a 2D game, I was like, that's kind of cool. Like I'm ready to see this. But when you consider that they only shipped Blood and Truth on PSVR, which as a VR game, that's not going to make you a ton of money. And they're doing live service. Live service is tough, and they were far out as is, so it would have been another 5-6 years. Like, I hate to say it, but like across PlayStation Studios, that was probably one that was on the chopping block.
Oh yeah,
and then Twisted Metal.
Yeah, Twisted Metal as well.
Man, I honestly was just curious what Twisted Metal was even going to look like. Apparently
that one,
or something, I don't know.
That one was in rough shape too.
All-Star Derby, whatever.
Destruction All-Stars. Oh no. Well,
because it was. It was in the hands of the studio that was making Destruction All-Stars. Then Lucid passed it over to Firesprite, and I guess Firesprite had to restart it or something. I don't know what shape it was in by the time Firesprite got it, but yeah, that's done too.
They should have just made Twisted Metal instead of Destruction All-Stars. Man, just done that instead. Oh well. Well, there you go. Deviation gone. So we'll see. I'm curious if Sony starts to move a bit, maybe going into like May. They did their showcase. I feel like they've done it in May a couple of times recently. So
it was last year.
Yeah, I'm hoping this May. So in a couple of months they have something. I don't know, a show to maybe start kicking off some of their first party stuff, like their first party studios, just even a year or two in the future if they have to, just get the ball rolling a bit for the second half of the PS5. So we'll see. Oh, and their PC push does continue. Ryan, Ghost of Tsushima going to PC.
Yep. You're waiting for that one.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took a while, but Nix's is doing it, and some of the features they have sound ridiculous, up to a triple monitor setup for this thing. Like some crazy resolution.
Yeah.
Dude, I used to have a triple monitor set up like 10 years ago. That's a big deal.
48 by 9. Like
I remember I was playing Rise on my PC with 3 monitors. It was glorious. It was a good time.
That probably did look amazing back then.
It looked sick, man.
Yeah.
Back then it was amazing.
It was Crytek Games.
This game is definitely set up for that, like kind of the vistas they have, like the landscapes and those kind of shots. That would look really cool on a PC with that setup, or just ultra wide even would look good for it. Evan, any interest in Ghost of Tsushima on PC?
Not really.
Okay.
Shame.
I mean, I like the game. I thought it was good.
You gonna play it again, Ryan, and run through it again?
Maybe. I do. I love that game. It is really good.
I just want to see what their next project is at this point. It's I feel like it hasn't been. I mean, it's been a little while, but for some reason, Ghost of Tsushima feels like it was forever ago. Now that I've been thinking about it,
It was.
I think you're going to see it this year.
That's good. Yeah, I assume it's going to be Ghost of somewhere else, some other timeline, something like that, right? Like it's not Ghost of Tsushima then a 2 next to it. I assume Ghost of some other area, some other time period, something.
I could see it still being Tsushima because in the context of the story, he was the Ghost of Tsushima. It's a title he read. So,
but what about, without spoiling it, the ending? Remember how you had that choice you had to make?
Yeah.
So how does the new game start?
Historically speaking, games that have multiple endings, they always retcon 1 or 2 of them and just make you go like, "Oh yeah, this is the one that we're going with."
One will be canon. I mean, if we're talking about Sucker Punch, like they did this with Infamous. Infamous was always
You're right.
You could go to bad,
evil or good.
No, and one of them's like, no, this was the ending.
Yeah, that's that's actually the studio I'm most excited to see what they do, because they built Ghost of Tsushima on some, like, I mean, compared to what their other projects from Sony were, smaller budget, we'll say, for Ghost of Tsushima compared to $300 million for Spider-Man 2. So I even if you throw them another couple multipliers on that, I'd be curious to see what they come up with, because that is a legitimately good looking game on the PS4 when it came out. So that should be fun. Hopefully this year.
And Nixxes moved so that's what Nixxes did with this game, is they moved Sucker Punch's engine over to PC. So
okay.
Now they're sort of set up. I would assume Nixxes is now on board to set up handling any PC port from Sucker Punch, because I was curious if they were doing it in-house or not.
I wonder if that means that their next one, when it comes out, will just go to PC in a more timely fashion. So instead of it being like 4 years or so, it feels like, again, it's been forever. It feels like maybe they get it done in a year or something instead.
I think it's the only thing keeping them from doing it more aggressively. I think they're still being a bit conservative with testing the waters as far as how their software does. But logistically, these studios were not set up to like do day and date PC stuff. So it's not like a business thing of like they just logistically can't. That's why Nixxes was brought in. So
hey,
they're getting there.
He's ready. He's about to move. Get that done. He's a numbers guy. Let me go over to some of the super chats here as we finish up. This one's from Necro Banana. Says there's some Brazilian weirdo that is sending Nintendo links to Ryujinx and how they should take them down, as if Nintendo doesn't know. Well, I wouldn't work for Nintendo without getting paid, so I wouldn't do that.
Right? What are we doing here?
This is from Riz, who says, would have been awesome to see y'all at PAX East. Wow, people want us at PAX. We'll have to figure that out one year. Interesting. That means we have to make Nate would have to go then.
Nate already goes, but he probably wouldn't tell us. He'd just be there.
We just wouldn't know he's there until it's too late. This is from Helmu, who says, what happened to the normal intro to the show? I'm using StreamYard.
John wants to use this, so you guys are going to get that weird intro where there's a gap of time before he says hello to everyone.
There you go. I like being able to put the stuff up on screen. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, but you can. I don't know if this needs to be linked to the stream, but you could literally just run this while I use the overlay and everything.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Like you could still run. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
okay, so I can use the overlay on it still. Okay, we'll work on that. This is from Aaron, who says, something tells me we may not see another Dragon Quest or Chrono Trigger again. Well, I don't know if you're going to see another Chrono Trigger, but Dragon Quest I think Dragon Quest is one of those like machines that'll continue on. Like I think Dragon will continue.
Let me guys, listen. I understand it's a very difficult time. Remember, Akira Toriyama, he's an artist. Okay, so he draws this stuff. It's very similar to, like, you guys know, like Bugs Bunny. You know, they still make Bugs Bunny stuff. People like and that's very old. So there'll be new people that come through. Yes, what he did was obviously valuable and everything like that, but that doesn't mean that all the developers and the programmers and the people that make Dragon Quest all of a sudden are just never going to work on Dragon Quest. The franchise is too big, right? So just think about it more in that way. Chrono Trigger, obviously that, we hadn't seen anything from Chrono Trigger in a long time, but yeah. We're still going to get Dragon Quest games, guys, because you still got, Yuzu Horii and the guys who actually make the games, not just the art that they use for it,
This is from DC Facto. Says, with Sean out, what's the best card game in game?
Queen's Blood is the best card game that I've played. And I'm not a big card game person in these games, and Queen's Blood's the best one that I've played.
I liked Gwent, but there are also card games that are games like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon. So
we're not counting those though. We're not.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna limit it to it's a secondary thing. But Gwent was pretty good.
I am still waiting for Queen's Blood to eventually do something outside of the game, like give us some kind of reward. That has not happened yet, and I have beaten all the people you run up against for Queen's Blood, so we'll see. Let's see. This is from Oscar. Says WB is the worst. Adult Swim games are being removed.
Yeah,
that's a whole thing going on right now, and that's unfortunate because apparently some of the developers are asking for them to transfer the ownership over, and WB just said no. So it's unfortunate. They have to restart basically their listing, which means they won't have their reviews or backlinks, like link backs to it, nothing like that for the digital store. So that's unfortunate. CJ says glad Mystic is on finally. PlayStation representation.
Thank you.
Alex says, what's your guys' favorite DBZ episode or scenes? Rip Akira Toriyama. I assume this is geared towards MVG, obviously.
It's that pilot episode.
Just say something with Krillin. It's all good.
Krillin episodes are freaking amazing.
I really connected with Krillin.
Yep.
I love the when Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2, particularly the part where he realizes that he's stronger than his dad. I thought that part was awesome because he'd been comparing himself to Goku the whole time. And that's why he thought Goku wasn't trying hard enough and he was stronger than him. That part was awesome in the Cell Saga, the tournament.
Yeah, I love that until they then basically didn't care about it, and then later series and made Goku stronger than him again, and just kept going.
Can you let me have my memory, please, of Team Gohan? Can you let me have my memory?
The thing is, I wish they kept going that way. I really do wish they kept going that way, but they didn't. Yeah, and that made me so sad.
But that part was still awesome, though. It's still
huge.
Great.
That was massive.
Still a great part. Yeah.
My favorite episode was when Goku and Piccolo had to go and learn how to drive. Because it was such a ridiculous scenario that they obviously used for filler for the anime that it just is ingrained in my mind because they can both fly, but for some reason they had to go learn to drive. So
Vegeta choosing to self-destruct against Majin Buu to redeem himself.
That's a good one.
Only for Buu to come right back.
Yeah, but that was all of it. I mean, that's always what happens. You expect that in those situations.
Like, yeah.
That part too. I think that part was crazy with Vegeta before that happened when he blew up half of like the stand and like he was dead serious about fighting Goku. That whole part was freaking awesome, man.
He was at his lowest, and then he immediately went back to his possible height, and then that was the end of that.
Sorry, guys. And remember the part when he rips Android 19's arms off? Like he just, or the hands, just completely rips it off. And like the first time that he's been like he's back on Earth Super Saiyan, that part was lit too.
But when he self-destructed Evan and he asked Piccolo if he was going to go to hell for it, and Piccolo told him,
"You know what you've done? You ain't going anywhere good."
He killed himself doing that. But
then they found him in hell, but
he was able to keep his body, and then he came back, and they turned into Vegito, and everyone was happy. Let me move on here before MVG loses his mind. This is from DVD. Hey, MVG, go ahead and watch Dragon Ball. You'll be a changed man afterwards.
Dude, MVG, watch Dragon Ball Kai. Give your thoughts, man. I think it's really good. You'll like it.
You imagine every week MVG just comes on camera and like just summarizes the last episode he watched on Kai.
Boomer on
anime.
Boomer on anime. That's the second channel.
DVD Night said, I would watch those videos. I would watch it. DVD Night says, recently got Switch OLED. I'm late to the party. Hey, big library to check out. DVD Night, big library. Cricket says upgrade to an LG C3, and I can see clearly now. Claw says the side quests are repetitive, but still feel fun. The mini games, though, they're good during story progression, but being the highest tiers isn't fun. This is from... Here we go. Eric says, peace, everyone. I love the Spawncast. Any pointers for a beginner Diablo player? Looking forward to Diablo 4 on Xbox.
Like beginner of the newest Diablo, or are you just cracking into Diablo 1 and
I'm
trying
thinking
it
just
out?
I'm thinking the newest one. Oh, because Diablo 4, remember, that is going to Game Pass soon. So I
guess he's got. I just find a build you like. I guess like that's really what it is.
Any
Find a build
class
that,
you'd recommend for a beginner?
I don't know what the new one. All I know is they set it up so that all the abilities and stuff did certain things early. Everyone fell into builds they loved, and then Blizzard went nope and made half of them useless. So like, it's.
I haven't
weird.
played 4, but I've played all the other Diablo games, and there's very, very kind of generous difficulty settings as well. So, you know, maybe start out on the kind of normal, maybe the very easy side, and you're going to start destroying enemies. And as you start getting more familiar with the game, just beef up the difficulty as you go. Because like when you start getting really good and you get some really good high-end gear, then you kind of ramp up the difficulty, and it becomes a lot of fun at that point because you really are, you know, it's a big challenge. So just, I don't know, just play and just adjust to your play style. You'll be good.
Half cut skeleton. And then we have D says Helldivers 2 is awesome. I never had any connection problems or glitches. Randoms are annoying sometimes, but with my friends it's super fun. The memes are gold for democracy.
Sounds like they've figured out their server connection problems now.
They have.
I've still had some weird disconnects, but not often, not as often.
Yeah.
I'm actually able to play now, so.
Is MVG getting in?
No, I didn't say I was. I was asking if they had fixed their server issues.
It's definitely more stable, and they definitely seem to have a little bit better, I guess, general direction with where they want the game to keep going. So it's feeling a lot.
They got
better.
mechs in now.
Mechs are in. They did a lot of nerfs on weapons, so the people stopped metaing the whole thing and actually go to other stuff and use other things. So that's great.
There you go. Jorge says it's interesting to see Zelda and Final Fantasy switch roles in Japan in recent years. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Necro Banana says all digital future facilitates buying M-rated games. Just buy cards with money and then buy the game digitally. Parental control your consoles. That's a good point. You don't have me at the register anymore to stonewall you. So, you know.
Yeah, but what happens when you want to trade those games in?
Well, you better not be 16 and 280 days like that one kid was. You're getting turned away. Let's see. Sobo says FF7 Remake wasn't a great game. They market it as an actual remake. Instead, it was filled within awful characters like Johnny Roche, Leslie. Oh, come on. The Chadley disrespect. Actually, I'm okay with that.
He's got a point, though. He's got a point. It was marketed as an actual remake, wasn't it? And then we kind of fell for it as we were playing through the game. We're like, what the fuck is this? What's happening here?
You know, I'm curious about this MVG.
But hold up. They told us that it's going to be in multiple parts, that it's only going to be in I think the
ending and like the change throughout. But the thing that gets me about this, and I've thought about this a bit as we've gone closer to Rebirth during launch and how people were kind of still remembering Remake. I feel like we get kind of bored if there's no surprises. Like, look what happened to Death Stranding. We thought there was going to be some kind of surprise, and it never happened, right? We legitimately just walked across a field. But in this case, they did the marketing fourth wall surprise, like the Metal Gear Solid 2 thing, and people weren't having it. They want the safe, straightforward route. I don't know. Sometimes I don't mind the swerve, but I feel like that probably put people off. So that's
maybe
kind of how it turned out, unfortunately. But yeah, Roche, I don't, you know, we don't really need it, Roche, but Spyro says they treat Peach like Kingdom Hearts treats Kyrie. I will take your word for it. MTS says playing Final Fantasy 7, which is my first Final Fantasy game, and lost 2 hours of progress when I didn't save and lost a fight. We're spoiled with constant autosaves and checkpoints these days. Love the game. CJ says Dragons Dogma character creation options. Opinions. I have not downloaded, unfortunately, and checked it out.
It's crazy. People are making like Michael Jackson and like Scooby Doo or like not Scooby, like Shaggy and all sorts of stuff.
I haven't tried it yet. People say that it's good. Like there's a lot of
people are
options.
making all sorts. Like, one dude made his girlfriend. Like it was crazy, and like he put a picture of her, and it looked like a lot like her. It was crazy. I'm like, man, that's pretty good character creator.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna when the game comes out, I'll just make the character then. But Rise of Ronin's out that same day, so that's gonna be tough for me. That's gonna be tough. Hank says I just bought a new 3DS XL Galaxy Edition. That's a good choice. Good choice. Let's see. Christian says it's my guilty pleasure every Saturday nights, 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. I enjoy an episode of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super with some hot ginger latte by my side. Rip Akira Toriyama. And Essex says, what was the role reversal for Final Fantasy and Zelda in Japan? That Zelda sold better in the West. Yeah, Zelda used to not really sell like that in Japan. Final Fantasy sold, like, as OJ said earlier, like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 million. And it seems like it's kind of flipped a bit now where Zelda's doing much better in Japan, whereas Final Fantasy is kind of trended the other direction. At least from the sales numbers we're seeing now.
Yeah, but just Japan, not obviously, and not digital either. But like I said, even if you count the digital, it's still nowhere near what Final Fantasy did on the PS1 and PS2.
I do want to go around here as we finish up. There was 3 comments over on Streamlabs that I wanted to get to, but I do want to go around here with let's start with Ryan, Mystic Ryan, part of the Spawncast now. Thanks for joining us. Where can all the good people find you? You got anything coming up?
I got things coming at my channel, Mystic RB, at Mystic Ryan Benecki. Those all bring me up. Thank you for having me.
And you got like Let's Talk PlayStation on Friday, right?
Every Friday, PlayStation news.
Every Friday. I look forward to whatever weird PlayStation 3 accessory you got your hand on this week.
I got one for PS2 just now.
You were printing stuff out with the PS3 at one point. I don't know what to expect anymore on that channel. I honestly didn't know the PS3 could print stuff. So,
yes, that's why I love that feature, and I love that console.
Now I know.
So stupid.
Let me go over here to MVG. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Modern Vintage Gamer. I have a video coming out next week, and I just want to say thank you for the love on the channel recently. Views have been improving. Things are going well right now, so I appreciate the love and I'm going to keep working on some really cool content for you guys. So thanks for having me.
MVG's popular. Don't forget us when you hit like 1 million, 2 million subscribers.
No, John, I don't change.
MVG's going to go Hollywood.
You change all the time. I was watching one of your videos from 4 or 5 years ago. You're a completely different person.
I had more hair back then, but
you used to think GameCube was better. You were doing double GameCube stuff. You were a much better person. I'm going to sit here and say you were better before MVG. I don't care.
I was fake back then. Now I'm real.
Now he's real.
Well, then you do.
MVG uncut.
Confirmed. MVG does change.
Going Hollywood. You got that pool, and now nothing's off the table, man.
I know. You out here in Vegas, out here being all Showtime and all that. You know, that's why you changed, man.
Oh, MVG's got a lot coming up. GDC, all that fun stuff. So it'll be a good time for him. So
busy.
There you go. And what about OJ?
Yeah, you find me right here on YouTube, Player Essence. Thanks for all the love as well. Shout outs to everybody. Streams are going super cool. I stream pretty much daily on the channel. Everybody always shows up, so I appreciate y'all. I got a big stream tomorrow. We're gonna be giving away 9 copies of the Mid Princess Peach Showtime.
Hey.
Yeah, 9 copies that we're giving away next week, not this upcoming Sunday, but the following one. But our first stream starting off the Princess Peach stuff is tomorrow. So if you want to come through on Sunday and hang out, and then the following week, so you want to subscribe, we are giving away 9 copies and a Princess Peach plushie and an amiibo and like and an OLED. There you go, and a Nintendo Switch OLED. That's probably the big one. And a Switch OLED. The whole community put together to give away this stuff, and I'm adding in some stuff as well. So yeah, thanks for the support, guys. I appreciate it. Come check out the streams.
Jaden says, John says, Jaden says, I think that was like a. Anyway, hey, most anticipated game
for this year.
Yeah, right now in front of you with what's coming up. I'm If I had to put like right at the top, might be Indiana Jones. Like the top, like okay, this is the one I'm really looking forward to because Rebirth's out now.
Stellar Blade for me,
Stellar Blade. I got to play the demo. There's still a few unknowns with how that controls, but that's up there too. But Indiana Jones, I feel like my most anticipated title with what's in front of me right now. Yeah, we'll see. And what about Evan?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter, YouTube at Kimmerix Project. Finally broke 5,000 subscribers. Hopefully I can get some more videos out though. Okay. That's been kind of slowing down.
Congrats, Evan.
Yeah. We try to stream during the week. We're working on a pretty big conversion project for a model just before we paint it. It's been a lot of work.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah, check out Evan on his channel. He's making moves in the tabletop scene. This is from Liam. It says, with Xbox bringing many of their games and IPs to other platforms, do you think they will ever put Viva Pinata 1 and 2 on Nintendo consoles, since they've brought so many rare games to NSO and made an exclusive Viva Pinata for DS in the past? That would actually be a really cool idea if they did that.
I mean, Sean bodied me about Rare, so they could bring any game to the Switch.
I think Viva Pinata would do well on the Switch.
They could.
Huh. Digital Warrior says, just woke up from a deep sleep to hear someone talking crap about digital products. OJ, digital is the future. Everything you buy will be digital in the future. Your money, car, house, even your food will be digital only. Now back to the metaverse. Thank you, Digital Warrior.
Appreciate that, brother.
It's Jen says, hey, MVG, was wondering if all the games are on the Xbox disc for limited run games. Thinking of getting some Xbox copies.
We had this question already, John. Am I crazy?
This is over on the other platform. I feel like we did have the same question though. That's interesting.
We do get a lot of repeat questions.
Yeah.
Well, MVG answered that pretty quickly.
The answer is no. It's probably not the entire game on disc because of the nature of Xbox. So, no.
And then Hellman says, OJ, you were hype on Princess Peach. What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's exactly how it is. It's an okay game. I was hyped just because it's Princess Peach. It's cool to see the game, like something new. But that when you play the game, it's like, okay, it's just a solid game. It's not, but we're giving away 9 copies, so you can win a copy.
I mean, what's there is high quality, like the animations, the characters.
Oh yeah, it's a quality game. But I was just excited. It was hyped just because I like Princess Peach as a character. She's my favorite Mario character, so I'm hyped for that. But yeah, I'm gonna get the game. We're having a big stream for it, so this is how I show my hype. We stream it, we talk about it, But I'm not thinking. I never said it was gonna be like Game of the Year or anything like that. Hold up.
And with that, Callan Shaw in the game says, thanks for a good show, everyone. Shout out to Callan Shaw. Signing us off here. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back next Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out all the panel members here down in the description. Go check out their channels. A lot of good stuff going on out there. And we will see you guys next time.